What's up, Cupcakes? It's your boy, Paperback Dan, and I'm here today to discuss what we pulled this week. I'm here with Taylor, if he wants to say hi.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm also here with Connor.
Hi.
Hello. It's good to see you guys. Let's just get right into it. Taylor, you want to go first this time?
I do. Sorry, I'm trying to organize everything here. So I had 2 orders from IST come in, 1 order from Cheap Graphic Novels, and then 1 Kickstarter come in. So I have a pretty hefty stack of my haul, and then I pulled 3 issues. So for my pull list. So I was going to run through these. Stop me if you want me to talk more in depth about one of them or not. But first is a manga. This is number 5, volume 2, which sounds confusing. This is by Taiyo Matsumoto. And these are like beautiful volumes. I don't know. Sorry, there's like a glare. But they have like a.
I always think manga always has beautiful volumes.
Yeah, it's weird though, because your typical tankobon is like a throwaway medium. Like it's like that's what it's made for. But now they're getting more into this prestige format. Here's like the pull-up poster.
Oh wow! Yeah, no, that looks cool.
And it even has like French flaps that then has like a huge pull-out wraparound cover. But anyway, so this is volume 2. I read volume 1 last week, and it's awesome. Taiyo Matsumoto, he also did like Ping Pong, Tekken Concrete, and something else. But he's awesome, and his artwork is like really heavily influenced by European cartoonists. So you can see it almost looks kind of like Mobius if you guys are familiar with him. So it's not your typical manga, but it's really awesome. That's volume 2, and there's gonna be 4 volumes total, I think, of that series, which is also confusing. You think that number 5 would have 5 volumes. My other one was Jocko.
Ha, cool.
Have you read this, Connor? I was gonna ask you.
No, I haven't, but he's Akira Toriyama, is he? A creation.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he appears in Dragon Ball Super.
Right. I think. Have you read Dragon Ball the manga? I know you've seen the show, but
I've seen the show, but I've never read the manga. I've wanted to read the manga. I don't actually know if he shows up in the manga. I just know that he shows up in the show.
I think he shows up like briefly in the manga, but you should pick this up. It's only 1 volume. This is all it is. Oh, it's 1 volume. It's like a little spin-off. And it's totally, I mean, it's tokusatsu. It's your thing, right? But
totally.
I read this last year on Shonen Jump, and I've been waiting. I've been meaning to pick this up because it's only like $7 for this book too. The whole time because I loved it so much. It was so much fun, and it's like Akira Toriyama doing like a commentary on superhero / tokusatsu comics. So it's like real kind of tongue in cheek, but like I said, like a commentary on those mediums or those kind of stories. It's so fun. Like Jocko's such a jerk too. It's just hilarious. But I'd recommend try to pick that up. Or you have access to the Shonen Jump app, don't you? Over there.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if I've been afraid to jump on, mainly because I do really like reading manga, like physically.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean that, by the way. So I kind of wanted to use it because I want to read stuff like Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
But as I've said before, the UK, the manga's massively sold out over here for quite a few series. So I'm like inching steps closer every day to like jumping on that app. And that's something that I quite like to read now as well.
It's such a good value too. It's like $1.99 a month. Like it's stupid the amount of stuff that's on it. But yeah, I'd recommend. I think for you liking that genre, I think you would enjoy it. It's just like real funny, but like cool. I don't know. It's really good.
Yeah.
This is a Kickstarter I got. This is Rufus Marigold, and this is a beautiful volume too. This came from the UK by Ross Murray there, and it was a little dinged up, but whatever. So this is about an ape, as you can imagine, or you can see, and it's got cool little French flaps. But he's like the only animal in the story. It's just like him and a bunch of humans. And I think it started as a webcomic. But he has like extreme social anxiety. And it's just like kind of a slice of life story with a weird looking ape. But I haven't read it yet.
Was that a Kickstarter?
Yeah, it was a Kickstarter. And it was a really good value too. I think it's like $10 for it's like a 200-page graphic novel. all the way from the UK even. This is the first volume of the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. I got this for my son. We've been reading this together. This is the Thor volume that includes, I think, the first 17 issues of Journey into Mystery, which is the first 17 appearances of Thor. But back then it was like each Thor story in those comics only had like 14 pages. So it's not 17 issues is like not a lot. Like they're not like full length comics or whatever. But these are great. These are small little volumes, like your typical single issue comic. Like they're smaller, they're like digest sized, and they're such good value. Like these are $15.99 US just for these volumes. But I've been getting all these for my son, and we've been reading together, so it's been cool to explore Silver Age Marvel with him.
I think I remember Omar announcing them, and I remember when I saw them, I thought that's a really good idea for like kids.
Yeah,
Starting at the beginning.
Exactly, and I'm trying to support it as well, not only to get my kid some comics, but also just because I think it's such a good idea. I want them to keep going, because right now that's the 5th one they came out with. Hulk comes out next week, and then they've solicited like 1 or 2 a month through like March. So I think that's pretty good pace to do like one a month or so. That's pretty much how we've been reading them, because I read them to him for bedtime, and we've been finishing about 1 a month. So
what's the price point on them? Are they hefty? Because if
no,
like, schedule wise, if they're for kids,
right? They're only $15.99, so they're super cheap. And even so, like on IST, they're like $9 on in stock trades, and like they're really good quality. Like they're really well built. Like the paper stock is like real thick. So like people have been complaining some of the Epic collections have like thin paper to them, but these are like I can't believe they're so cheap. Just how amazingly they're built. So even they're not just for kids either. If you're just wanting a cheap way to read old Silver Age Marvel, maybe pick these up. This is Stuck Rubber Baby by Howard Cruz. This is the 25th anniversary edition. So I got this on the Nick and Dent sale from Cheap Graphic Novels, and there is no nicks or dents to it. So this is from First Second Publishing too. Like I said, Howard Cruz. But the Cheap Graphic Novels and in-stock trades will do this, where they have like Nick and Dent sales. I'll show you some of the artwork. And there's not really much to it. So I don't know if it's just like they have like overstock and they're trying to get rid of them. Maybe I should be careful. There's some explicit content here. Hold on. I
was pretty hesitant to even take part in the Nick and Dent sale, just because I feel like they're worse on paperbacks versus like a hardcover. A Nick might not be big of a deal.
I don't think I actually got any paperbacks from them. So I got 5 books from them, but they were all super cheap too. Like, so this is a good story. So Howard Cruz is like an underground cartoonist, and this takes place in the 60s during the civil rights movement, and it stars a white homosexual man who is like struggling through the civil rights movement of trying to be an ally when he's like closeted homosexual, because it's like back then it was not, people weren't as comfortable being open about their sexuality, I guess. So it's just like real intense, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to read it. This is one of the weirder comics I got, probably the weirdest. This is Puke Force by Brian Chippendale. And it's like landscape format. And his artwork is like real like stream of consciousness. Like there's like, so here's like a super detailed page that looks amazing. Like there's like insane detail, but then like he has like really wacky in papers too.
That's awesome.
Like there's just like strips like this, where it's like real like stream of consciousness, just like a guy just exploding on the paper with ink. I don't know. Like not really worrying about like making everything look pretty. It looks pretty ugly sometimes, like on purpose, I think. I don't even know what it's about. I remember it was on someone's YouTube channel for like weirdest comics, which I'm into weird comics, and it was on there for like $10, so I picked it up. But Brian Chippendale's pretty wild. Puke Force. Then I got Copra Volume 2, or Round 2, sorry, by Michel Fife. And I know, Dan, you're asking me about these. So I read Volume 1, and I loved it. Look at these wacky characters. So this is put out by Image now. So Michel Fife, he will publish the single issues himself, like they're self-published, and then when they get collected by Image. And there's 5 volumes out right now. Volume 6 is due out in December. But he has
so it's not a finished book yet.
no, it's just like an ongoing superhero universe. And he has like a real wild, like underground style. Show you some of it, but it's like highly touted, and it's like one of those things where it's like your favorite cartoonist's favorite comic book. Like if you hear cartoonists talk about like their favorite superhero comic book, Copra is like really touted by them, and even says like Matt Fraction's got a blurb right here. This is the only comic book I'll actually leave the house to buy the day it drops. I read that really slow because it's backwards on the camera right now, but I think by the time Dan posts the video, it'll be not backwards. And then I got Headlopper, Volume 1. And these are like thick trades. These are, they only hold 4 issues in them. And this is all done by Andrew McLean with colors by Mike Spicer. Mike Spicer's the colorist that does a lot of Dana Warren Johnson stuff. So he did like the Beta Ray Bill series for Dana Warren Johnson, and he did Murder Falcon. But other than that, it's Andrew McLean doing this. And
so there's only 4 issues in that book. How many pages are each issue?
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. So there's only 4 issues per trade paperback, but they're all like oversized. So they're all like 72 pages, I think, per an issue.
So it's almost like it's almost essentially like 8 issues. Like isn't 72 like basically double?
Right. So this is released in single issues prior to the collection, and he does it quarterly. So rather than do like a monthly title, like a normal comic book size, the way he wants to pace his story, I think that's why it's like that. It's because he wants to pace it in such a way that you get like a hefty 72 page. I think it's 72 pages. I don't know. I'm not 100% on that. But whatever it is, it's bigger than your typical monthly title. So 4 issues a month come out, or 4 issues a year come out, and then he collects it into a paperback. And Volume 4 just came out last month, I believe. But I can already tell that this is going to be, like, I might as well already order volumes 2 through 4. It's like the artwork is, on its face, it looks cartoonish. But when you get into the story, I read a little bit of it last night. It's, the way I describe it would be like Hellboy and Gru the Wanderer and Conan the Barbarian, like thrown into a blender together. Like there's just some part, like you can tell he's influenced by Mignola, if I can find like a good, just like the way he spots his blacks and stuff. But anyways, it's like a brutal, like bloody barbarian comic, like you'd think of like Conan. And then this was from the Nick and Dent sale too. This is Donald Duck, Christmas in Duckburg. This is by Carl Barks. And I know when people think of Duck comics, they think of like DuckTales. But they're like, DuckTales was inspired by that. DuckTales is like the watered down version. These are like adventure stories, like adventure comics, like think of like Indiana Jones, which was directly inspired by these comics. Even admittedly by Steven Spielberg, he pulled exact things from these comics by Carl Barks. Like the
wait, hold on. You're telling me that Indiana Jones was based on fucking DuckTales? Well, not DuckTales. You just explained the difference, but
yeah, not based on, inspired by. But like the famous scene from Indiana Jones where the big boulder's rolling and it's gonna smash him. That was directly ripped from one of these comics. Like that scene, and Spielberg is like, unabashedly, he'll admit to it. Like he'll say, like, yes, I was a huge fan of those Duck comics from Carl Barks growing up. So they're fun adventure comics. Don't just think of them as like kids comics.
Hey, the more you know. Because I was about to ask if you bought that for your son too.
I do read them with him, but I enjoy them just as much myself as well. And these are Carl Barks. The ones I started with were Don Rosa, who is like so there's 10 volumes, 10 hardcover volumes of Don Rosa's from Fantagraphics. And there's like 30 plus of Carl Barks. But the Don Rosa ones were cool because Don Rosa was a huge fan of these growing up. And Carl Barks wasn't the only one doing Donald Duck / Scrooge McDuck comics. There's like dozens of people that were doing it. And but Don Rosa was only a fan of Carl Barks, so he only took things that were canon to him based on the Barks universe for his stories. So any other characters that are created by anybody else, he doesn't touch. So he's very like stuck on that. But yeah, so if you like DuckTales growing up and you like comics, I would try these out because they're like a step above. I love DuckTales still, but these are like a step above those.
That makes much more sense now in regards to Indiana Jones. Like if you take him out of the boulder scene and you put Donald Duck in, if it still works, it still fits.
Right? Yeah, because Scrooge McDuck is like he's always like the whole thing is just he's always on an adventure to go and explore and find some ancient artifact or some valuable artifact, which is like Indiana Jones, right? That's like what he would do. So that's what it is. He's just going on these adventures with Donald Duck and the nephews and whatnot. They're really fun comics. I would recommend the Don Rosa ones if someone just wants to try them out, like try one of them out or whatever. But like the Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, that's been collected. Like that's like the magnum opus of Don Rosa. And they're even doing like this huge, like massive, like $250 volume, which I'm not getting, of that. It comes out like next month. But anyway, you can read that. I'd recommend if you want to try it out, read that story. Maybe if you're just trying out one story. And then I'm getting to the bottom of the stack, I promise. So this is 3 for the money. This is one of the Fantagraphics EC Comics hardcovers. And I have a video on my YouTube channel, Taylor Talks Comics, where I went through all... Cheap plug. I went through all 30 volumes because I do have all of these. This is volume 31 of the series. And if you follow me on Instagram, which is also Taylor Talks Comics, I posted a video because these editions look wonderful together. The spines all match up, but they all have like a different logo here or whatever. And then like the font's different, but other than that, like they match up beautifully. But these are EC Comics. EC is known for, before the Comics Code, they inspired the Comics Code because they were so violent and grotesque. They're warping kids brains or whatever. But they're known for their crime, their horror, their war, and their sci-fi comics. And they're amazing. They're like 8-page strips. And these volumes collect based on artists. So these are all Jack Kamen stories. And they're black and white, but they're just beautifully put together and affordable.
That design on that hardcover is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. This Jacob Covey does the design because I'm a nerd for book design, and Jacob Covey is like one of my favorites. But yeah, he designed all of them, and they're immaculate. Now let's talk about something that's not good for book design. So I got Sandman Deluxe Volume 2. Look at this stupid thing right here.
Yeah,
that's not a sticker
as well.
That's not a sticker. They printed that onto the dust jacket. Who wants this?
Yeah,
this beautiful cover with a stupid Audible thing printed on there. Other than
if they put it on the back, I could at least understand that, I guess. But even then, like it would still bother me.
Right, like the backs of the library editions for the Umbrella Academy have like the Netflix logo on the back, but that's not so egregious. Other than that, these are beautiful volumes. And this is only volume 2. I don't even have volume 1 yet. I'm still hunting it down. If anybody has a good lead on it, let me know. One of my cardinal sins of comic book reading, though, is I've never read Sandman, and I'm trying to correct that with these. This was only $16 on IST, which is insane because this is 500 pages and collects, what does it collect? Like 14, 15, 18 issues of comics. 500 pages, oversized, hardcover for only $16. It's stupid. So I'm going to be reading Sandman for the first time.
I just recently read that book.
Volume 2?
Yeah. I'm going on that journey as well, the same as you.
For the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So have you finished volume 2?
Yeah, I have. I thought it was a little weaker than volume 1, but it also feels like it's setting up like a lot for the future. It's funny because that sticker, it's annoying. It's a shame because the Audible is absolutely freaking fantastic. It is incredible. So I get why they're plugging it, but it's a shame that they tarnished the cover with that.
Yeah, I remember you saying that because you said like you can literally listen to the Audible while you're reading it. Like it's like word for word the same, which sounds like an awesome experience to me, and I want to try that out. So I think what I'm going to do is read it through myself. Maybe like read a volume and then listen to a volume.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I want to do that because it sounds like a cool experience. We talked about this. We like to listen to music while we read. It's kind of a similar experience.
Yeah, it's like it's weird because I never thought it would work, but like I haven't done it myself yet. But I watched a lot of reviews of people talking about it's like the ultimate way to read it, and I listened to the first audiobook first, and before I read the book, because I always struggle to grasp where to start with it, and the audiobook, like listening to the voices, like James McAvoy as Dream. You, like once you've heard him talk as Dream, when you read the book, you'll never hear anyone else again. It just completely overtakes. And I believe that if you do that format where you read the book and listen to the audiobook, there's like a couple issues where they like swap them around. So like when people are listening, it'll go on a story and they're like, wait, this isn't what I'm reading. You kind of have to jump a little bit. But
Okay.
all the reviews I've seen of people saying that they did that have still like highly recommended it regardless of that.
All right. Yeah.
Um,
So that's interesting. That's funny that you say that you don't hear another voice, because that's like still with Batman. Like it's Kevin Conroy when I'm reading Batman. It's weird.
yeah. And the
It's
thing
weird
is,
how-
as well, is I actually think that the audiobook may make some of the book more horrific. There's one issue in particular, which I won't talk about because of spoilers, that when I listened to the audiobook, because obviously I hadn't read it, it genuinely shook me. Like I was like walking to work listening to it, and I was like, "Holy hell!" Like I was scared other people were listening to it on my way, because it was like crazy. And then I was hyped for the book, and when I read the book, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like it's dark, but the way they go into the detail in the audiobook, like the description and stuff, is like crazy. So I think like in that regard, it'll make the book even more like scary if points are intense.
That's awesome. So there'll be 5 volumes of those to collect the whole run, and I think volume
Mhm.
4 comes out this month, and then volume 5 comes out in February, I think. But people always joke that they've released Sandman in like every type of format possible. They've done absolutes, they've done omnibus, they've done trade paperbacks, they've done trade paperback box sets. I think the deluxe, I kind of like it more because it's like 500-ish or 500 pages, so it's not too hefty. It's still oversized. And they're cheaply priced. They're $50 cover price, but you can get them for like $25, $28 on IST.
Yeah, the reason I jumped onto the deluxes rather than the omnibus, because the omnibus are gorgeous, like the
Yeah.
leatherback style. It looks gorgeous, but the extras, there's like no extras. I know that's not for everyone, so if you're just wanting the story, the omnibuses are a good way to go. But that deluxe has a lot of extras as sketches, and it has his entire first pitch. Well, the first volume has his entire first pitch for Sandman. So that is like a really incredible to see and read. So like if you like those sort of extras, the deluxes are the way to go.
I love that stuff. Yeah. I mean, especially like scripts, pitches, like that kind of stuff. Like that's why I love the Absolute Watchmen volume, because I love reading Alan Moore scripts. I don't read a lot of the comic book scripts that I see in the backs of books. I'll read some of them depending on how deep the story is, but Alan Moore ones for sure I will read word for word because they're incredible. Because they're just like stream of consciousness, like him having a conversation with the artist kind of thing. And he's just like this, he'll go through this big elaborate thing, like, have this in the background and have this guy on the table and have this, and like, it's like the Watchmen ones, like there's one whole page is just like one panel of the comic book. It's insane. But then he'll always end it off with like, or if you find something else better, just do it yourself, or do whatever you think's right. And all the artists that have worked with Alan Moore, so you'd think that'd be incredibly like limiting to have like that detailed of a script for an artist. But all the artists that have worked with him, which I maintain, I think every artist that has worked with him, their best work was with Alan Moore, which for a reason. But every artist that's worked with him said it's like the most pleasant experience, that it truly is freedom, because he'll give you this very elaborate thing, but he will finish off with, or if you think of a better idea, throw it at me or whatever. So it's limiting, it's on the surface, but there's a lot more freedom in it, if that makes sense. But moving on to something that's very much not Sandman or Alan Moore. This is the musical Monsters of Turkey Hollow. So this looks like another children's book, which, I mean, it is an all ages book. This was a Nick sale, and it was like filthy. Like it was like dirty on the cover. I kind of cleaned it up a little bit, but you might be able to still make it out. Like those, that's supposed to be pure white. I don't know. So I guess it was Nick Dent and dirty. It's kind of skeeved me out a little bit, but the pages themselves are clean. Anyways, so this is Roger Langridge doing a lost Jim Henson pitch for a musical. And Roger Langridge is an amazing cartoonist. If you can see the artwork there. And he did the Muppets comics for Marvel that was collected into the Muppets Omnibus, which is frequently like panned for being like a cheap omnibus people find. But I promise you, I mean this with the utmost sincerity, that is a damn good omnibus. For the value they can get it for, it's damn good. Roger Langridge, he basically had all the freedom he could have from Marvel. There's like, just do whatever you want. We need a Muppets comic, you do it. And Roger Langridge was a huge Muppets fan. If you're a fan of the Muppets show, like the more primetime one. So it's not like Sesame Street. Sesame Street's like for kids. This is more like Y7 plus that grown-ups can enjoy. The old Muppet show, it's on Disney Plus. If you go watch it, it's basically Muppets doing SNL. If you're a fan of like Saturday Night Live or like what's the I don't know, like those variety shows like that. But the Muppet Show's great. Roger Langridge is a big fan of it, and like the comics read as if they're like episodes of the Muppet Show, but they're like his own stories, if that makes sense. But his artwork is amazing. He's like an underground cartoonist. And it's like just insanely detailed and colorful. And he did all the lettering, pencils, and inks in this, and then he had a different colorist. But I don't know. I love Muppets, so I was into that. That was super cheap. I've been looking for that. Not a dirty copy, but I've been looking for that. 2 more. All right, so this is the Umbrella Academy. You Look Like Death. So these are like the spin-off, I guess. Like if you think of like, if you're a fan of like Black Hammer, these are like the Tales of, or the world of Black Hammer. These are the Tales of Umbrella Academy. And this is pink. They did change the spine, I guess, because it's not like the normal continuity. So I really like the design of the Umbrella Academy ones because they're like, the lettering is like vertical. It's this Umbrella Academy, and they look really cool on the shelf. Mm-hmm. But I'm a huge fan of Gerard Way. Back in my emo days, and even still today, I listen to My Chemical Romance. So I just recently got into Umbrella Academy though, because I was under the impression that it was like, I thought it was a typical thing, like a cartoon or a rock star wants to go make a comic book, right? And then they go and they do a shoddy job of it. But I then found out that Gerard Way actually started his career as a cartoonist. He was making comic books in high school. He even went to SVA, which is like an art school in New York, I think, to make comic books. That was like his plan. And then I guess 9/11 happened, and he's from New York. And then that, for some reason, inspired him to go back into doing a band. And then My Chemical Romance just like took off, became like this huge, like world-renowned band, and took away from his time to do like comics. And then he came back to comics, which makes sense because Umbrella Academy is an incredible comic book. I got the 3 library editions. I read them all in like a couple days because they're amazing. But this is like a spin-off featuring the character, what's his name? Klaus. And the guy that plays Klaus in the Netflix show does the forward for this volume. But I haven't read this yet, but I'm excited to.
Have you seen the show?
I've not. I've watched the first episode because I wanted to wait till I read the comic first, and then I just haven't finished it yet. But the first episode's pretty good so far.
See, because I read the first volume years ago, and it didn't really like hit home for me. Like I didn't really love it, but I think when I watched the show, I really enjoyed the show, and it made me think, oh, maybe I should go back. And I've meant to go back because I think I was a lot less experienced in comics then, more generic titles and that. And I've thought, like, I remember the art being really gorgeous, so I've always meant to go back and kind of revisit it.
It's a really weird world. It's pretty much Gerard Way doing Doom Patrol, because Gerard Way is a huge fan of Grant Morrison, which is an incredible story in itself. That Gerard Way grew up as a huge fan of Grant Morrison, reading his Doom Patrol and his Animal Man and whatnot. Then Grant Morrison became a big fan of Gerard Way, and it like just by happenstance. So Grant Morrison, when they were writing Final Crisis, I believe, is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you have your thoughts about Final Crisis, but when he was writing that, they said that he. Sorry, I can't get his point out right. They said they were listening to The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance like nonstop during the duration of writing that. So it's kind of this weird thing where like I can't imagine what that was like for Gerard Way to find out that the guy that he like idolized as a comic book writer was a fan of his. It's just such a weird thing. So now they're like best friends, like together, like they talk all the time and stuff. And Gerard Way, I think Umbrella Academy basically was him doing his own Doom Patrol, because it feels very much the same as like Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol. It's just like these weird like bizarre outcast superheroes that have like weird powers coming together and having to get along. Like a lot of the story is just like how do they work as a team, because like some of them kind of hate each other, some of them just hate their life, kind of thing. But they come together and they work very similar to Doom Patrol. And then it was funny because Gerard Way would go on to write Doom Patrol. He had his own run on the book. But yeah, I love Umbrella Academy. It's supposed to be like, I think he said 7 or 8 volumes, like so 7 or 8 library editions basically, which each contain like 6 issues. So it's going to be like a long series. And Gabriel Ba, like you said, his artwork's amazing. So I hope he stays on the book the whole time. But so like there's a lot of plot threads that he leaves loose like very early on. Like one of the first things you find out is like the Professor X type in the Umbrella Academy is like an alien. You find that out like one of the first pages of the story. But they haven't really gotten to that yet in the story as far as like explaining how this guy's an alien. But so I don't know. There's like a lot of loose threads like that I think he's eventually going to tie, hopefully. But it's kind of like, it's weird. It's just kind of like makes you think like it's like bad storytelling on its surface that like you don't tie those threads together. But it's interesting to see like, is he going to, kind of thing? I don't know.
Yeah, it's building. Like you don't always need to like capitalize on everything straight away. I like that sort of storytelling where it gives you some credit and kind of allows you to kind of sit with some plot developments, and then you go, as you say, like you're like, when's that going to come back? But it also gets you excited for it coming back,
Yeah, for sure. And then the last collected edition I have is this very nice, massive Judge Dredd by Brendan McCarthy. Like, look at that cover. How do you not want to read that comic book? Like, you guys just want to read this now, right? But this is like a hugely oversized, like, just to spoil the next thing I'm going to talk about. Like, this is a single issue comic book, and then look how much taller it is and wider.
That's massive.
Yeah, and these are only cover priced $50, but I got this for like $15, I think, on the Nick and Dent sale. So I've read some Judge Dredd. They're collecting those case files, but there's like 30 of them. I don't know. There's a huge set of them, and I love the 2000 AD stuff and Judge Dredd, but I don't think I'll have shelf space for all those. But IDW's come out with, I think, five volumes that are like these artist-centric ones that just collect all the stories that artist has done. So Brendan McCarthy is important because he's a huge fan of Mad Max. And have you both seen Fury Road?
Yes. It's the only Mad Max movie I've seen, actually. I've seen bits and pieces of like the original trilogy, but Fury Road's the only one like I sat through. Okay.
Well, Brendan McCarthy did all the character design and the concept art and co-wrote and I believe co-directed that movie. So imagine like Mad Max and then the Judge Dredd world fitting into that. And his artwork is insane. So like it starts off just really good. Your basic, when I say basic, I mean amazing, but your basic typical what you'd imagine in the black and white 2000 AD stories, like Brian Boland and stuff. Like it's great artwork, right? But then he gets into this painted style that just goes like nuts. Let me find a good trippy, because it gets like real trippy too. And he does like these crazy techniques too, where there's like rumors that he's like melted crayons for the colors and stuff. Like he's just like doing like all kinds of crazy stuff. He's Irish too. He's from Ireland, so he's not from your neck of the woods, Connor, but he's nearby, right?
He's close.
He's close. Like look at these colors. Like there's like trippy and like bizarre. But I like him, and I wanted to do a video on him for my channel, Taylor Talks Comics, and because Dark Horse put out a great collection of hardcover. It's like the Milligan and McCarthy, because Peter Milligan's one of his frequent writers for his work. And then I have that, and then he did this awesome 3-issue series from Marvel that was Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, and it's amazing. Like it kind of builds off the famous annual that Ditko did for both those characters. Like I believe the trade paperback of those 3 issues collects that annual and that Ditko did. It's pretty. And Brendan McCarthy, he cites Ditko as one of his major influences. But I want to do a cartoon spotlight on Brendan McCarthy for my channel, so I had to get that so I can read it and do that. So that's my whole. I promise every week they won't be that big. But I did get 3 single issues for my pull folder. First of which, let's start off with My Bad. So this is, I already showed this. This is from Ahoy Comics, and it has Mark Russell and let me get him right. Bryce Ingman, Bryce Ingman, Mark Russell, Peter Krause, and Joe Orsak are the creators on this. So this is Ahoy Comics, and this is a new superhero universe, but it's like a satire. Like it reminds me a lot of the Justice League International days. I know Connor, you're a big fan of those.
Yeah, I am.
And I haven't read that run, but I want to. It reads like what I would imagine that comic that run being, because it's like only maybe more of a satire. Because on its face, Justice League International was still DC heroes.
Yeah.
But the first hero you get introduced to is this guy. His name is the Chandelier. Look at his freaking mask. He's a chandelier, but he's like Batman, even to the point where this is him under the mask with Alfred. Not Alfred. His name is Winthrop, but he's pretty much Alfred. But it's like he's kind of a jerk too. So this whole thing is like a superhero satire, and then there's this character Man Boy. That his power, he's right here on the cover. Or Man-Child, maybe? I forget his name. Man Boy and Man-Child. But he's like this little scrawny kid, and then he turns into like this hulking monster, like the Hulk. But so this is the first issue, and I actually tweeted my poll list to and I plugged the guys from this comic, and they said, like, thank you for picking it up. And I asked them, they said it's gonna be 5 issues for now, Mark Russell said. But the thing I love about this is that I love the comic book as an object, and there's no wasted pages in here. There's no ads in here, so they filled up the ad space with their own stuff. It's like the old like reference sheets for like Marvel and DC would do, like character bios. They did one for this character named Rush Hour, who is a traffic superhero. He fights traffic, people speeding, people drunk driving. That's his thing. And then the letters pages in the back. You have to read these if you get this comic book because they're hilarious. Like I was laughing out loud at the letters pages because they're fictional, but they're hilarious. And then they even have they have a Mad Libs in the back that they did. And then I don't know if you guys have read old Marvel comics where they have like the old Hostess ads, but they even did like their own Hostess ad in the back. And like the Marvel art for those would always be like Frank Miller did a few of them, but there's always like dashed off from the artist. There's like whatever, I have to do a stupid ad for Hostess Twinkies or whatever, and I had to put Daredevil in it. So it was like dashed off art. So they even like made it look like it's like dashed off art. Like it's not like the best art. Like here's the chandelier. Like just look how like dumb he looks compared to like the first one. So they really like page for page, like inch for inch in this comic book made an impression trying to make sure it's filled in. I'm trying to find. Oh, here's the ad page too. So they have like ads for these fake products. I don't know. It was hilarious. I loved it though. I'm definitely on board to get issue number 2. It
does look heavily inspired by Justice League International.
Yeah, doesn't it look like
that
the
cover?
The famous first cover, first issue or whatever.
Yeah,
where they're all kind of looking at the camera. And in the back is just like the without the trade dress, the same thing. But it's the important new superhero universe is what they call it, even within the comic. So that it's what it comes off to me is like, because there's like different strips in there. There's like 3 or 4 stories that are like 6 to 8 pages each that all take place in the same superhero universe, starring different characters with some crossover. So what it seems to me is that they're trying to get like these other different cartoonists to join in, and then that's gonna be like kind of this expansive universe that anybody can go play in that playground kind of thing. At least that's kind of what I hope it builds into. And then I got Orphan and the Five Beasts by one of my favorite cartoonists going today, James Stocco. And this thing is my cover of the week. I screwed up. I should have. These are all connecting covers. So issue 1, there's 4 issues in this series, and they're all connecting covers. So you can see like the arm from this guy right here. And then the arm right here of the character gets introduced in this issue, which I'm assuming his face then will be on issue 4. But just the fact that it's this brilliant looking connecting cover is cool. I should have brought the other ones to really show it off. But James Stocco's art is just like insane. Like it's like so insanely detailed, obviously inspired by manga, but and like the story itself is inspired by manga. Like here's the creepy guy that is introduced in this issue right here. So the whole story is like a Ronin, a samurai Ronin, a lost wandering Ronin, was trained by this master, and him or sorry, I don't want to. This character plus 5 others were trained by this master, and the master dies. So now, but the other 5 kind of went rogue and they're doing evil stuff. So now it's this job of this one samurai to go and kill the other 5. So it's like orphaning the 5 beasts.
You've
like
sold me.
Yeah, it's 4 issues, and it's amazing. But the finale of this issue went bonkers. Like it was like my head was like blown. I already love the series, but the finale for this issue was just like, what the heck? So I'm so on board for issue 4, and I wish James Soko, because his art is so insanely detailed, he works at like a slower pace than usual. Like this was supposed to be 4 issues that come out in 4 consecutive months, and this was supposed to come out in May. This issue was, and then June was gonna be the finale. But then he got work with Marvel. He did a issue of Heroes Reborn, and then he did like a Daredevil Black, White, and Blood strip. So they kind of slowed him down. I don't think issue 4 comes out until like February. But then the trade paperback comes out in May. But he just works at slow. I just wish that he could do like manga pace and just like have this like huge shelf of all these stories. Like I would buy every one of those tankobons if it came out. It's such a fun story. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about, Batman Reptilian by Liam Sharp and Garth Ennis. Did any of you guys pick this up?
No, I didn't.
I did.
I looked at it though.
Okay, so this is the 6-issue miniseries, like I said, by Liam Sharp and Garth Ennis. Liam Sharp, to me, is the best artist going in comics today, especially from the big 2. He has so much range. Like if you read just the Green Lantern run with Grant Morrison, every single issue he shows a different art style. It's like bonkers that his range that he shows. Now in this story, he's only doing like one style. He's doing like this creepy painted, it looks like kind of like Arkham Asylum or maybe something from Sandman even style, but it's just like creepy. Like even like it's like that face looks kind of like cartoonish, and it's kind of like sitting on its surface, but it's like unsettling, right? like it just looks creepy because it's so just, I don't know what a better word than unsettling. Like it shouldn't be on there. I don't know. But I'm not a huge fan of Garth Ennis either. Like I love Garth Ennis writing war comics. I wish he would just stick to that. The Punisher series that I liked, I know it's highly regarded. It wasn't my thing. I didn't like it. But I love Punisher Born because it was like a war comic. This is the best non-war comic that Garth Ennis has ever written that I've enjoyed myself. And like I said, Liam Sharp's my favorite artist going right now. So I'm all in on the series. This was issue 5 of a 6-issue series. So issue 6 is coming out soon. And then Liam Sharp's got his own series he's starting next year called Starhinge. And it's supposed to be like a fantasy sci-fi story or comic book that he is kickstarting hardcover collections for, but he's doing single issues and trade paperbacks for a major publisher, he said. He hasn't announced who yet. But just follow him on Twitter, and he's very responsive. I've went back and forth with him quite a bit on Twitter. But he's been posting artwork from it, and his art is just, it's amazing. Like it's just like this painted, like detailed, just beauty that just like your eyes just like drawn to. I don't know. But so I've been really enjoying Batman Reptilian. I'm excited for the last issue there. So two of the issues I picked up are these were the penultimate issues. The second to last issues. I'm done though. Paperback Dan, let me pass it off to you. I know I've gone long here.
Me? You mean it?
Yeah, it's your turn now. I promise I'm done.
Well, I also had another light week yet again. I went to my shop and they basically didn't have anything for me that was actually part of my pull list. The only thing that they did was they pulled they'll do like recommendations based on what you're pulling. So for this example, I got the infamous Arple, but not really Arple, O'Neill book. So because I'm pulling like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, anytime there's like a side series or like whatever you want to call it, any like Turtles, anything, basically they'll throw in my box as like a, hey, do you want to pull this too? And 9 out of 10 times I end up saying yes for the Turtles stuff.
Well, I have a few questions about that. Sorry. So do they make you like? Do you feel like kind of forced to buy it, or that is this like a suggestion kind of thing?
It's absolutely a suggestion.
Okay.
I've never felt obligated to
Okay.
buy something that they recommend. I just think it's a nice touch. And usually they're fairly like spot on with what they recommend. Because I think they even had, I don't remember if I ended up pulling it or not, but I think when the Power Rangers Turtles crossover was happening, I think they suggested that to me as well. And I can't for the life of me remember if I pulled it. But
That's awesome, because I've heard horror stories where people feel like obligated or they kind of like push it on people. I think even Cupcake Taylor, I think he's talked about that with his LCS, kind of like throwing stuff in there. But I like it if you don't feel obligated, if there's like, oh yeah, whatever, we'll take it back. But because I love people suggesting comics to me, like I love the idea of people being like, hey Taylor, I know you're into this kind of thing, like,
yeah.
have you heard about this comic? I love that stuff, so it's kind of cool that they do that. My next question is, does that include any of the classic black and white comics?
So I flipped through it very like minimally because I'm big on like not spoiling stuff, and I didn't want to like accidentally see something. But like going through it right now, nothing is actually in black and white. So I feel like the answer is probably no. I honestly know very little about this issue outside of the fact that there was a massive typo on the fucking solicit for it, however long ago it was now. I really only just picked it up because it's Turtles. I don't even know if I'm gonna like it. I flipped through it, and a lot of it's like the classic art. But I mean, I'm still gonna give it a shot just because I paid for it, and it's honestly, I don't know the actual page count, but like it's pretty thick. And it was only $6, which I think, given how expensive comics have become, like $6 for a book this large, really isn't that bad.
I agree. I just wish those covers were better. I hate those covers. Like the Casey Jones one looks kind of cool because it's like that minimalist style is what they're going for. And Casey Jones has a cool looking like hockey mask. But like, I don't know. I like the idea of like collecting those in like best of stories or whatever, but I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on some of those older stories if you do read it.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I'm very out of the loop because I didn't know that they were doing a Casey Jones one either. Did that already come out, or were there?
Yeah, that was the issue that came out before that, I think. It's like a yellowish cover.
Okay, well, they didn't put that in my suggestion box, but whatever. I won't hold it against them. And I also got an old issue as well, just because I think I'm going to start pulling this series partially due to number 10 next month supposedly being a big deal, but I got number 9 for Radiant Black. I think this is the B cover.
That's a B cover.
Yeah, I think I liked it a little bit more than the A cover.
How dare you? Once you read it.
Oh,
I mean, there's probably, I'm sure, like based on what I saw or based on the cover, and since I'm like only like 2 issues behind, I think this is issue 9. I'm on 7. So like I kind of feel like I know what you're talking about without obviously giving anything away.
Yeah.
But I thought the cover was cooler, so I went with that one. And I told him to add the series to my pull list, so hopefully I get that snazzy black light cover next month. Or
no, it's not a black white cover. It's a black white comic. The interiors are black white as well. Black light as well.
Thing, I thought it was just the cover.
No, Connor and I went back and forth with this because Connor's obviously reading the series. I've never read an issue of this, but I'm getting that issue 10 because I love black light stuff so much. And the interiors are black light, which is amazing. But it says, and I hope they hold this true, that this is the only time they release the black light version. It won't be collected later in like a collection of it. And there's next month they are releasing the normal version and the black light version. So I have to get it. I'm so stoked to get it.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't know. I thought it was just a cover, so I've been misled. But that explains why they showed off the interiors, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I'm not wrong about that, right, Connor? The interiors are
Yeah, no, the whole book is because like you made me panic, and I've not, I don't know if my local comic shop is gonna get it, so I ordered it online. I don't think I'm gonna get mine the same time as you guys. I think because you'll be able to pick yours up in person, I'm gonna have to wait for mine to be delivered. Um, but yeah, like I'm super excited for it. So excited that again you made me panic, and now I've ordered it just in case. I might have two or something, you know.
No, I freaking love that stuff. Like Jim Rugg, one of my favorite cartoonists, did a blacklight comic last year for Kickstarter, and the whole interiors and stuff was blacklight. It's amazing, and I love the old blacklight posters that Marvel did back in like the 70s. Like they're insane looking. Like just look them up on eBay or whatever. They're so cool. And then I think they're releasing a hardcover. It's like it collects like 12 of those posters. I want it, but it's like $125 for 12 pages basically because they're posters, which is expensive, obviously, but it's so cool. Like those posters are like hundreds of dollars now because they're from the 70s and very few people still have them like in good condition. I just love blacklight stuff, and I don't even own a blacklight myself. It's just, but like you can see how cool it looks just on the page itself. And maybe I need to buy a blacklight. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a weird thing for a 34-year-old dad to have, but I need a lava lamp too, maybe to go with it.
I mean, I like lava lamps. I don't own any anymore. The last one I had, I think, broke or something. It doesn't matter. It's not functional. Let's just say that. Moving on, an issue that was very hyped up by a lot of people, and I bought into it, and I added it to my pull list. Dark Knights of Steel, 1 of 12. This is the A cover. I wasn't in love with the B cover, so I just went with the main one. I didn't read it yet. I don't know if it's one of those things where I want to let it wait for like 2 or 3 more issues and like build up a bit since I know how long it's going to be. But yeah, no, I'm excited because, you know, who doesn't love Tom Taylor? And it should be good. It's only 12 issues, so I'm glad it's not a huge commitment. And the last thing, got one other thing I added. Well, I didn't add it to my pull list because I was going to read it and then get back. This is the only issue that I read. First time for these videos that I actually had time to read an issue before we shopped it. And Taylor, you might remember this from last week when we looked through all the previews and stuff. This homage cover for Knighted. This is the A cover. It's from AWA, and it's by Greg Hurwitz and Mark Teixeira on art. And it's only a 5-issue miniseries, which I didn't realize at the time when we were looking through those previews. But I was just like, screw it. Something, for whatever reason, something possessed me to like actually look at the synopsis for it, like after we had gone through everything. And it kind of sounded appealing. So essentially what it is this guy like accidentally kills or is responsible for the death of like that universe's like Batman equivalent. And now he is basically going to try to take over that role, and he's got the butler like there in his corner to help him save the world, you know, or whatever you want to call it. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if any other books have ever done that before. I read it, I enjoyed it. There wasn't a whole lot. It's mostly build up. But it's good. I'm going to add it to my list, especially being that it's only 5 issues. I've never read a book from that publisher before, which is why I wasn't in a hurry to add it without having read it. But I enjoyed it. I'm curious to see where it goes. Like I said, the first issue was kind of tame, but I'm very interested to see what happens from here.
That's awesome. And just to plug real fast, we also do a previews episode on the same channel. Make sure I don't think we said this before, but make sure you like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss anything, get the notification bells and that kind of thing. But we do a previews episode too, where we go over next week's stuff. And so that's what Dan's talking about when he said that last week we did a previews episode and he saw that. But another thing, I love the Dark Knight Returns homage with the lightning bolt and stuff. It's so cool. My son was actually reading a comic the other day called Cat Ninja. It's like this kid's comic. And there's a scene in it that had like the main character jumping in front of a lightning bolt like that. And he recognized it because I pointed it out to him before in an other different comic book. I forget what it was. It's been homaged so many times. And he's like, "Hey, Dad, like this is the comic you were talking about. What was that Batman comic?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so I pulled it up and showed him like the actual cover and stuff. But it's been homaged so many times. But that one looks really cool. I like the way they did that one on that cover. It like because it still shows you like the silhouette of what that character looks like. Because that's like the important thing is that like the silhouette of Batman. You can see it on the main cover. The silhouette on that one's different, so it doesn't look like a one-to-one homage.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, no, and I'm a fan of it. I like the way that it looks. I actually had a hard time deciding between the A cover and the B cover because what is it? Is it Mike? I forget his first name, Diodato. Did the B cover, and I thought that was cool too, and I generally like his art as well. But the guy behind the counter at the store talked me into getting the homage cover, and that was the last one they had. So
Mark Teixeira did the cover and the interiors for that?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, no, the only reason I know that that's true is because he signed the bottom of the cover on here. Otherwise, I would have second guessed myself.
No, that's cool. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on issue 2 and going forward and stuff. Because I've never heard of that publisher, and obviously didn't hear about the comic book until we saw it in the previews. So that's just one cool thing too about us going on the previews is we can see stuff like that. So it's cool that you picked up a comic from our previews and you read it. Just so many cool things happening over at Paperback Dan's headquarters over there.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I have heard of the publisher before. It actually, I forgot to mention. So apparently it's completely unnecessary reading. Like, I don't think that I missed anything, but this book actually takes place in the Resistance universe, which is another AWA book by JMS.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that comic. I never read it before, but I didn't realize that was that publisher. I've been wanting to read that. That takes place in the same universe. That makes me now I'm even more intrigued. Now I want to read the Resistance. Have you read the Resistance?
I haven't. It's on my list, but I didn't get around to it. I know that my shop has, I believe, the second book. There's like a sequel series now, I think. I haven't read either book. I want to. I think it looks cool, and everything that I've read from JMS I've liked. So now reading this first issue and kind of getting a better feel for what that universe actually like contains, I'm more interested than I was 2 days ago before I had read this.
Yeah, I don't have a pin. I'm plugging this into my phone now because I love JMS. I love like Babylon 5 is a great series. He's bringing it back, by the way. And he did like an awesome Twilight Zone comic book that was great. I actually haven't read a Spider-Man run. I know there's the 2 stories in there that people lambast, but like for the most part, the rest of it people say they enjoy. But I love his writing style. Oh, and also he did a Supreme Power. Supreme Power, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah. The Marvel Max series.
Yes.
Yeah.
I read that.
I have the books.
Man, I read that in high school.
Also did Superman Earth 1.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I just bought that last month. Actually, I haven't read it yet.
I love those.
I think you're the one that I was asking questions to, for like information on the series. It's just the three trades, right?
Yes. It was just the 3 trades. I'm pretty sure it was said that he was going to come back and do more, but he's retired from comics now, which I was really gutted about because then we don't get more. But those 3 together like form a pretty damn good story, like a complete kind of, you get a good chunk of Superman beginning in like, the first one's like a good origin, and then the other 2 are really good kind of layers of the lore that's been there before and kind of doing its own thing. It was one of the first Superman comics I read, because it took a slightly different direction with them, but it's so cool.
Yeah, I love Supreme Power though. I had those hardcovers in high school. So this is like I said, I'm 34, so this is like a number of years ago. And they're like Dan said, they're in the Max Marvel line, so like the more adult oriented. It was one of my first times I felt like I shouldn't be reading this comic book. But like or just the fact that I was like, I hope my parents don't open this comic book in my bedroom because it just has some like explicit stuff in it. But it was amazing. Like that was like, because it's this like the Squadron Supreme, but it's like a retelling of it in a more adult oriented thing. So it's basically just JMS doing his own Justice League, if you will, for Marvel. And it was very obvious. Like when I was reading, I was like, okay, there's Superman, this guy's Flash, like whatever. But it was just like, I want to read it again because it blew me away as a high schooler. I want to read it again to see if it still holds up. But like I just remember loving that series, and I sold them so many years ago. I need to recollect those because it's such a good series. But that's what made me a fan of JMS to start off with. Now I need to track down Resistance, which I think has been collected in like an omnibus, like a paperback omnibus, maybe.
Honestly, I don't know all the details because I recently discovered the series. So I'm still looking it up. I know that In Stock Trades had either one or two books of the series, which is where I even saw it in the first place. I think I looked up JMS books, and then that was one of them. And then I was like, I looked at the publisher, and I was like, oh wait, I recognize this publisher because I'd recently bought another book from them. And yeah, so I need to do some Googling on the series as a whole. I don't think there's a whole lot, and I don't know if it's still going on because I think the sequel series is fairly recent. I know Connor just said that he apparently retired, but does that mean that book is over, or like is it older than I'm realizing? Like I don't know.
As far as his retirement too, I will say that he has for years. I mean, I don't know when Babylon 5 ended. I feel like it was late 90s maybe. But ever since it ended, he's for years explicitly said that it will never come back. He will never reboot the series. He will never do another episode of Babylon 5. He loved it, but he wants to leave it where it was. And now he's rebooting it. So I want to say he might be retired from comics, but never say never. He's gone back on those kinds of things already. He's actively doing it right now. But yeah, I'm writing down Resistance because I need to track that down now. I'm intrigued.
But yeah, maybe it's just one of those things where now that he's back to doing TV, he's taking a break from comics so that he has time to like actually do his job.
Maybe. So was that all you had then, Dan?
That was. And my cover of the week that I saw, I forget what issue it was. I'll have to double check. Was Strange Academy, believe it or not. And I'll, plaster it over my face or whatever. It says issue 1. Oh, it's Strange Academy Presents. I don't know what the hell that means, but the cover.
Yeah, that takes place in the Death of Doctor Strange story. So that was like a one shot. Like it takes place in the Strange Academy universe or whatever, but it's not in the numbered issues of Strange Academy.
Right. That's what threw me off.
With the big story of the Death of Doctor Strange.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I say that cover was cool. What I thought was going to be my cover of the week wasn't on the rack because DC can't get their shit together apparently. But yeah, that's all I got. And I guess to make a correction from last week, I never touched on my cover of the week, but Connor pulled it, was Deathstroke Inc. 2. So you guys got to see it anyway. Yeah, that's all for me for this week.
Awesome. Well,
so, Connor, we saved the best for last.
I know. We got the guy with the biggest pull folder.
Yeah.
Take that how you will. And so we're going to go to Scotland. Let's see what Connor pulled this week.
So what I'm going to start with just quickly, because it's the only one. Well, I got 2 this week, but collected edition wise, I don't actually have it on me, but I got Berserk Volume 4. That was a mental read. It's obviously it's seen as a masterpiece, and it is, and it's quite a controversial book at the same time. Many people can't read it because it's quite out there. It's quite adult. I've loved all. Yeah, I've loved all of it, but Volume 4 is probably the first time I felt like it pushed my buttons a wee bit, where I was like, oh, I don't know if I quite like how far it's going. Like I find this crazy thing where it like. So the first 3 volumes, there's been like hard, there's been points where, things have happened that are difficult. Like it's difficult to read, but they're like really nuanced, and it's like ahead of its time in how delicate they treat the situation. But yet, like this Volume 4, they do the same thing, but it's not delicate at all. It's violent. And I know that some people would say that the violence is the point of it, but to me, it doesn't strike right. It doesn't feel like it's the same person. It kind of feels like some of it's done for a reason, and it's ahead of its time. And then other points, it's just done for the sake of it. It's very odd. all in all, though, still fantastic. I'm gonna keep going. It didn't like put me off enough that I wouldn't keep going. It's just that this is the first time that I felt a bit like, ooh, some of it.
I want to get those hardcovers so bad. I bought the first Tankobon last year just to try it out to see if because it's like $6 and wanted to try it out to see if I wanted to get the hardcovers. And I know because those hardcovers collect 3 of those Tankobons in them. And I know everybody said like the first volume of the hardcovers, like the first three Tankobons, is like the worst of the series, and then it really picks up from there, like even art and story. I love that first Tankobon. Like it was like right up my alley with violence and just like you said, it was just out there. Like it's weird at times, creepy. Like it has like elements of horror, and like I was all into it. I haven't bit the bullet on those hardcovers. There's gonna be so many. There's like 13 of them, I think, by when it's all said and done. And I don't think I have the shelf space to commit to that. And it's one of those series that I wish manga isn't collected digitally very easily. Like Shonen, like I said, the Shonen Jump app's great, but that's just Shonen Jump magazine manga. It's like these more violent, adult-oriented other publishers or whatever, like Berserk, like Gantz is another one I want to read. They're not really collectible, and I know you can buy them, you can get them illegally online, but I don't like to do that if I can avoid it. It's just like the shelf space that freaks me out. But those volumes are so beautiful too. I just know, like, I just need to bite the bullet and get to it because I really enjoyed them, and I know it'll hook me. But
the thing is, those books are like gorgeous, and the oversized format, like Kentaro Moira's art is just incredible. And yeah, I mean, like, I agree, like the shelf space, but I've seen that bookends that are like got swords you can put either side. And I'm like, I can't totally get that for all of them. That would make the huge shelf space worth it, you know?
Exactly. Like it looks funny because it, like, for those that haven't read the manga, like his sword is like gigantic. Like it's like taller than him. It almost, it looks like. So like those bookends look funny when there's only like 3 volumes with them. But once you get to like the 13 volumes, the sword's gonna look to size.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think that's a must if you're gonna get them all. I know that Cupcake Owen is a lot further ahead of me. I think he just picked up volume 9. Join our Facebook page and you'll see that. Yeah, or 8. Maybe it's not.
Well, I thought it was 8. I don't know, but he tweeted about it. Yeah, and then he posted on the Cupcake Facebook page. Good plug there, Colin.
Yeah. So join our Facebook page and you can post and show us your hauls and stuff. But yeah, so he's a bit further than me. But yeah, like all in all, like it's still a really good read. It's really riveting. I've seen the anime before, and I hoped this deluxe would go past the anime. And it didn't quite reach it, and I was like, oh man, now I have to wait and get the next one to get past the anime because I already know a bulk of the story because of the anime. But that said, there's so much, like when I talk about the anime, I'm talking about the 90s show. There is so much more in the manga than there is in the anime. Like the anime cuts a huge chunk of the last arc out, and it blew my mind how much was missing and how much is in this book. And also like character fates and stuff. Some of them are different from the anime. So like that also surprised me. So it was worth it for that as well. But yeah, so it was a good read, but pushed a few buttons. The only other collected edition I got, which is sitting next to me, is Batman, Creature of the Night. And that's by Kurt Busiek and the art by John Paul Leon. So this has been sitting in my work for ages, and I just threw it off as like a random Batman story, and then I read the back one day, and I was like, I have to buy this. And it's about a kid called Bruce Wainwright who adores Batman, loves Batman comic books, and he's got a pretty well off parents and that. And then what happens is his parents are killed by like crooks, and he loves Batman so much. Like some people think he has a problem with it, but he's so angry that he just wishes like something like Batman would exist that would kind of like, you know, fight back this sort of evil. And then something does kind of show up. Something starts fighting back, and especially the first half of the book is about what that is. What is this thing? And yeah, it's a really good book.
So at the start of the story, Batman is just a fictional comic book character.
Yeah. Actually, like I'll show you. So he's actually like, for instance, this is the first page. The first page is like an old school, like it's the kid's comic.
That looks
So
awesome.
like that's what the kid's reading, and like the actual book itself is very like year one,
Holy crap.
and it does
So-
this cool thing.
Yeah,
Sorry?
you pitched this to the group. I can't remember which group chat, but I remember you pitched it, and I was like, "That sounds awesome."
Yeah.
Now I'm even more hooked. The artwork looks amazing.
Yeah, it does this really cool thing because it does different fonts for like different people are like, so it's kind of like people are talking about this book as if it was in the past. So different characters narrate like in different text boxes, like they have different styles, which really helps kind of bring. So like for instance, Bruce Wainwright has an uncle called Alton Frederick, Al and Fred, so he just calls him Fred. Alfred, because like he's so addicted to Batman, and like yeah, like for instance, as you can see here, his text boxes are like written like letters almost, you know, like he's writing it down in like a diary or something, and yeah, and like some of the art is just like absolutely incredible. Like I don't know if it can do this justice, like, and it's very year one. It's very like yeah, I mean, look at that.
Oh yeah,
And that's
yeah.
the thing. It's not like that's not really a spoiler, because the thing is the question is like, what is it? Like, what is this thing? It looks like Batman, but is it? And you know, and like the cool thing is it constantly references Batman books. Like this kid, as he grows up, continues to read these books, and when like key moments happen, it may reference or like go back to like a page that looks like it's from a Batman comic. It's just
Holy
really
crap.
good.
When did the original series first come out? Do you know?
I'm not actually sure, to be honest, because as I say, this book kind of surprised me. I'd been sitting there for so long.
Look in
and
look at the indicia on the first page. Like whatever the earliest year will show you, like when it was first printed in single issue format or whatever the first format was. I know this is riveting for the
I
video.
know. I was just looking. It just says 2017.
Okay, maybe that's
It
when
might
it
be
came out.
recent. Yeah, because when I read the back has Kurt Busiek. I think it's Kurt Busiek talking about the series, and it took a long time to come out. I think there was a huge delays in between each issue. There's only 4 issues, so it's not a big read. But they're oversized issues, and there's a lot of like text, so it's quite a chunky read. And like you still feel you're getting your bang for your buck. But it's the sort of comic I love. It's just it's oozing characterization. It takes like it reimagines the mythos of a character, but still like respects them. And it just, yeah, I think the only, if I was to go say there was a con, I think the only con is like the book is so exciting. One of the biggest mysteries, as I say, is figuring like this kind of mystery out. And I don't know, I think I got too excited and it didn't quite match up for me. Like I was like, oh, and then when you find out, you're like, oh, okay. But the thing is, the characterization in the book is so good. And it's like an alt universe year one almost, like, you know, with the style and stuff. So it's just it's a high recommend.
Man, that like you pitched it to me in the group, and I was already hooked. Now like it's just like doubled that. And I actually haven't read a lot of Kurt Busiek work. He's a writer that everything I've heard about, like what he writes, is like intriguing to me. Like I'm definitely gonna get Astro City when Image starts collecting it. I think they're doing like 12 issue trade paperbacks starting next year. I'm definitely gonna get that because it's like his own superhero universe. But yeah, I'm on board for that. I need to find out how I can read that. Is that oversized? That hardcover?
No, it's not oversized, unfortunately. Okay. I haven't looked to see if there's a deluxe edition. Seriously, this book I like so much, I would just go out and rebuy it right away. Is like the best format I could get in. The last thing I'll say about it as well is when I was looking into it, I read a lot of people say that this to Batman is Superman's secret identities to Superman. Kurt Busiek did the same thing with Superman, and I've not read that, and I've always wanted to, and didn't realize there was this comparison going. So this makes me really want to read Superman's secret identity now.
Yeah, I haven't read that either. That is one of the like the highly touted like Superman stories. That's not like an ongoing story. Like it's like its own little thing. So that's interesting that he did that, because, man. So now I have 2 things added to my list here from this video alone. But the fact that it's not oversized makes me feel like I can either find a trade paperback and not be unsatisfied, or read it digitally maybe and wait for a deluxe. But
yeah, the thing is like this thing would probably suit being oversized. I mean, my book was how much did I get my book for? I think my book was like £12. So that's like what? like $14-15.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. From based on the
Yeah.
Kickstarters that I backed from
Yeah.
The UK.
Yeah, so I don't think it's too expensive. And as I say, I've not done the research into if there's a better format, but that book, again, if you're a fan of like Batman Year One and like David Mazzucchelli and stuff, like I would get this book in the best format possible. So yeah, so that was my collected editions, and Batman Creature of the Night, highly recommended. So now I'll get to my single issues.
Let me hold on, pause, time out on the play.
Okay.
I had to disappear for a second, but I heard everything, and I just wanted to say that I think that sounds pretty fucking cool too. So I might have to add that to my list as well. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
what did you
Dan,
say it was called?
Creature of the Night.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan, you were saying last week you're not the biggest fan of Batman, but between this and Long Halloween, maybe we can get you hooked on the Dark Knight.
See, so I mean, again, we talked about this last week, and I don't want to like go off on a 20-minute tangent. I don't dislike Batman. It very much depends on the story that he's in. Like, I'm not going to read a Justice League book or anything because I want to see Batman. But if I read a Batman book that's like fairly grounded, then like I'm in.
Okay. Yeah, everybody should go back and watch our video from last week. We Connor had a great rant on Batman, and we also went on at length about the Long Halloween story. So go back and watch that video. But Connor, please continue.
That's no problem. The thing is I think it'd be really cool if the two of you's got that book. I'd very much like to do another video just seeing both your opinions on it, because it's one that you could easily sit and discuss for a long time. There's a lot of layers to it, and even Long Halloween as well. So yeah, there's a lot of classic Batman books. So yeah, going on to my pool list, Comic Connor might be becoming controversial Connor for his first.
I love it.
For his first. So this is my worst pick. So I think I got a bit excited. I got a couple because of our solicitation video that we dropped earlier this week. I got a couple things, and one thing didn't impress me really all that much, and I've seen a lot of praise, and that is Newburn.
Oh.
Yeah, I have seen nothing but praise for this book, and it just did not hit the mark for me at all. I'm a huge fan of Chip Zdarsky, and Jacob Phillips' art is pretty good in it, but I thought it was a slog. Like, just
Wow.
I don't think I don't know if it's. I wouldn't say that it's not my type of comic. I felt like actually it should be my type of comic, but I think it's decently written. I mean, the art kind of gets drowned out at times from the amount of dialogue and speech that's in it. I kind of feel like it's a bit overwritten. Like, I feel like it was telling you a lot, and I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't feel like there was a flow. Like, I was kind of ready to move to the next page, or like, something had been discussed, and I was like, cool. And I also just thought like the premise is just a bit like, I just kind of seen it before, like it's a former cop who, is kind of a detective, and he's not so nice, and he goes and behind police officers' back, and they're like, hey, who's this guy? And they're like, hey, that's Newburn. He gets to go around. It doesn't matter. And it's like, yeah, I've kind of been there. I've read some people say it was funny, and I didn't really laugh either. But I just want to say I'm a huge fan of Chip Zdarsky, and Jacob Phillips' art is fine in it. Like, it's good. It just really, I actually tried to reread it because I thought maybe I was tired, and I got about 5 pages in, and I was like, no. I was just like, I can't. I just don't like. I might try again at some point, and then maybe in a future video I'll be like, hey, actually, I wasn't tired this time, and it read okay. But no. And also, do you know what? There's a backup story in like the last 4 pages that I was like, what the hell is this? Like, there's no speech. Like, there's a little bit of speech, but I don't get what the point of it was. I don't get what it adds. Maybe I'll add something down the line, but it just confused me. It was like, what's going on here? So I just really wasn't impressed by it. I was hoping I would, because our solicitations got me excited, but it just, it didn't hit the mark.
Yeah, so when you say that you're going to give it another shot, do you mean like that issue, or are you going to give the second issue a shot, or wait till it's collected, or? No,
I'll give the first issue a shot again, because I genuinely found it like really difficult to read. Like, it took me a while, and like it doesn't normally take me that long, and I didn't engage with it. Now again, as I say, I don't think it's bad. Like I don't think the writing is bad. I just maybe think that it's a bit overwritten. Like it just explained a lot, and it was like I always like seeing like a writer kind of let the artist kind of breathe and show us, like just kind of not over explain it, because the guy's like a detective. It's like, my God, this man's a genius. Like you get that sense from it, but you're being told constantly, and I guess that it's like the clues and all that, but it just was a bit much. Like I didn't feel like the flow was there.
There's a fascinating thing there, because Jacob Phillips is still a pretty new artist. I think he did like the Texas Blood. I don't know what story that was, but mostly he's been working on coloring his dad's work, Sean Phillips. But Chip Zdarsky is a veteran writer. He's been writing for years. So I wonder then, with you saying that, if it's like Zdarsky trying to like hold Jacob's hand a little bit and carry him through the process, or if maybe they just haven't like meshed in a way that they can. I don't know. It's fascinating to me, and it makes you. I almost want to force you to read issue number 2 just to tell me, just to see if that pairing changes at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing is, right now I'm saying I won't, but next month I might be like, "Hey, we're doing a video. Oh, look, there's issue 2. I'm gonna get it. Let me get speak about, Not that I have enough, don't have enough to speak about.
Issue 1 has a month to change your mind. If you read it again in the next couple weeks, who knows?
Okay, it might take me 3 weeks to read the one issue. No, I'm joking. I do, yeah. As I say, I'm gonna try and reread it, but yeah, it just was a bit overbaked. But again, if you look at Comic Book Roundup, it's got a huge score. I haven't seen a bad review for it. I'm the first. Thank God I'm not an official review, because that would have brought that score right down. but yeah, it was. I'm the odd one out here, I think, but it just wasn't for me. I still recommend reading it, especially if you're a fan of Chip Zdarsky, because it is very much a Chip Zdarsky book. So yeah, on that controversial note, I'm gonna bring up my second couple books. I'm gonna do 2 books. And this is issue 1 and 2, and the second issue is my cover of the week, and that is Frontiersman. The first 2 issues.
Right.
And I got these because I saw the second issue. I thought, holy hell, that cover's really good. But also, Dan, you said some really interesting things about it last week, and so I really kind of wanted to check out. So it's written by Patrick. Sorry, it's written
before
by.
You dive in, that second issue is like a pull-out cover, isn't it?
Well, the two of them have both double like their sides, so like you can like open that bad boy up.
Yeah, I just want to really show off that cover since it's your cover of the week.
Get your peepers on that.
All right, now you can talk about it. I just wanted to show that off.
Well, I'll show you the first one. The first one's not as exciting because I'm like, it's just a bunch of bushes. Like I was like, yeah, there's a weird robot in there, but I was like, really? You couldn't put something in there? It's just a bunch of bushes. But yeah, so so this threw me a loop. I'm telling you, these 2 issues threw me a loop because Dan said something really interesting to me last week, and I don't know how I feel about this. Okay, this is a talking point. It's written by Patrick Kindlon, and it's drawn by Marco Ferrari. The art in it is sensational, right? It's really good. Now I actually read these issues twice for a specific reason. And one of them was, again, what Dan brought up, right? So I read it, and it's a good, fun book. It's nothing sensational. It's just like it's a fun read. Like it's about a climate changing, like aware hero that is like like social justice and that.
Let's say to put it in like a non-politically correct way, he's basically a superpowered tree hugger.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
Like that's the vibe that I got from the first issue. So I was like, I don't know if this book is for me. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that in a way that like I don't care about like climate change or something, but like that's not like a fictional story that I want to read about. Like, it feels a little too real. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what else you have to say though.
Yeah, so I read it and I was like, this is cool. Like I read the first issue and I'm like, this is cool. Okay, like it's got some decent characters. As I say, the art is phenomenal. That's what pulled me into it, was the art. The story wise, it's a bit weird, like, but not weird in like a great way. It just feels a bit random. And then like before, like, so I read the second issue and it was more of the same. Now, the thing I'm going to comment on that changes this review for me is, as Dan brought up last week, what the writer, Patrick Kindlon, wrote after the first issue, his afterword of it. That is one of the weirdest things I have ever read, because he basically, and he doesn't do it in an overly aggressive way, but he basically disses Marvel and DC and says that, you know, Invincible, like there's gems out there like Invincible and stuff, and that like indie comics need to be better, and that's what his series will be. His series will be what Marvel and DC don't do. And like he did this thing where, as you brought up last week, it's like times one, like what is it? It's like times one, one like, so here, look. I don't know if it's bad to front. 1 month as the best superhero comic on the shelves. That is a ballsy claim, right? And it's nowhere near the best comic on the shelves.
That's
like,
what I
nowhere
said.
near.
I said it last week. I was like, man, this book really did not do very much for me. I read that one digitally, so that's why I didn't buy issue 2 on Wednesday. But I probably will get issue 2 digitally again, just to kind of see, like you said, the cover looks cool. There might be a little bit more to it this time. But yeah, I was like, that's a bold claim. And I don't ordinarily read like the afterword. But I did for this one as well. So I saw all the same things. And I'm like, he's got some balls. Like, you respect it, but at the same time, it's like you're not really backing it up. Like, you have time. I know it's just one issue. But I'm like, you're making a lot of like bold statements and not really like, I don't know. For me, I feel like a first issue, if you're going to follow it up with claims like that, then you need to have like a fucking like gut punch to start the book off. And it absolutely did not have that. It felt like a filler issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I've done some investigative journalism while you guys are talking. I didn't recognize that the writer's name. And with you saying that he's making bold claims like DC Marvel sucks, basically, this is the best superhero comic, whatever. That sounds like a guy that would not does not aspire to be working for Marvel or DC at one point, right? So, but he has a musical background. He's like a punk singer, or he's in punk bands. So it sounds like comics isn't his first gig. So if he pisses a lot of people off, is what I'm trying to say. It's not like he has a fallback plan. Okay, he does have a fallback plan. Comics isn't what he's focused on. So when he's saying bold claims like it's the best superhero comic and whatnot, I'm assuming that's kind of like a brash punk rock, like F you guys, I'm doing comics the way it should be done kind of thing, which is kind of endearing to me. I love punk sensibilities.
So you saying that makes perfect sense, because it does. I don't remember it like word for word anymore or anything. It's been a couple weeks since I read that first issue, but it does kind of scream like a fight the system type of, like, you know, don't give in to like the societal norm type of shit. Like I'm making it a little more preachy than it actually was, but like it gives off those vibes, which in a lot of ways is very punk rock, I suppose. So like you saying that he was part of a band or like has a musical background and so on and so forth, all of that adds up to me.
Right. So I grew up on punk music. I still love punk music, and I'm kind of an old punker myself. Now I want to read this because, and he's got other comics that were released with smaller publishers like Black Mask and whatnot. So tonight after the show, I'm going to be looking up Patrick Kindlon to find out all of his stuff, because anybody with that kind of mentality or that kind of like brashness, I'm like there for. Like that's like my thing. Like I don't have that myself, but I aspire to have that. It's like kind of like I live vicariously through these punk rockers that have the audacity and the balls to say things like that. Like I can't imagine being so freshly new to comics to where like your peak now is like you have like a new image title, and to basically, I don't know I'm not putting words in his mouth, but to basically like put your middle fingers up and say like Marvel DC sucks. Like that's what I love a lot about like the underground comics that I kind of showed off some of them earlier. Like those kinds of guys would be say stuff like that, like the 70s and 80s. They'd be like, F you guys, like that mainstream stuff is like garbage. Like this is the way to do comics. And even though I love Marvel and DC comics, like just like that brashness, like I can get behind. I'm like, yeah, like Dan said, it's like against the system kind of thing. So now I want to read Frontiersman, and I want to read more of Patrick Kindlon stuff. But I'm sorry, Connor, I detracted from your review.
I don't want to like drag this out too much longer either. But like, and the thing is, I respect all that. I respect what he's saying. A lot of it, I was like, you know what? I agree with this. And like, he brought up some good books. Invincible was not the only one that he referenced. He might have, I think he brought up Empowered, and there was like 2 or 3 other ones. Yeah, if you want to double check, I know there was a few.
The Astro City, Black Hammer, the Elementals, Concrete, Badger, and Empowered.
Damn, Badger, Concrete, and
Empowered.
said something else there.
Empowered.
No.
The
Elementals.
Yeah.
Those are like deep pulls. So this guy, he's been a comics fan his whole life. So he's not someone that is just doing comics just because it sounds fun to him, but he's really a musician. Like those are deep pulls from like the 80s. Like Elementals, I forget who did that one. Badger though, I have like a handful of issues from that. That's from Mike Barron, I think. But those are like deep pulls that he's pulling from that.
Yeah, I had to, all 3 of those, I had to look them up. I was like, I've never heard of these. Like obviously you hear about Black Hammer because that's still going on in some capacity. Yeah. Empowered's not that old, even though it's not really my thing. Astro City obviously is a big deal. We brought it up earlier. But yeah, so he, like, to a point, I'm like, dude, like you're not really getting off on the right foot here. So I hope that you're not trying to put yourself in that company yet. Because he's like, this is the best superhero book like this month or whatever. And I'm just like, it's not even the best superhero book like at the publisher you're using. Like, I'd put Radiant Black above it. Honestly, I'd probably put Spawn above it if I was reading it, just because that's how little like Frontiersman did for me.
Okay, so Connor, I have 2 questions while you finish here. One, I want to know how the book was, because I don't think you've gotten to that point yet. You said that the art blew you away, but I want to know like the story and stuff, like where it's going. And then 2, you guys will be more well versed to answer this for me. But there was a rumor like when Radiant Black was coming out that Image is kind of creating their own like a new superhero universe. Like obviously Invincible had like crossovers and whatnot. The early Image days had crossovers in their superhero universe, but it seems like there's like rumors they were going to do like a new superhero universe for Image, and Radiant Black was kind of like the precipice for this. Is this in any way look like it could potentially cross over one day, and like this is part of that, or
no?
Okay. I didn't know.
Honestly, I feel like it would have to be. Yeah, I agree that it shouldn't, and I feel like for it to, it would have to be in some weird kind of like interdimensional shit. Like I don't think it would be like, oh, maybe there's a chance that they actually live on the same like planet or whatever, because like they both take place like, on Earth. I don't foresee that, but to what you're saying, I haven't heard those rumors, but I wouldn't be surprised if that starts coming a little bit more to fruition next year with the whole like big 30th anniversary deal that they've been making. I don't know what to expect from that, but I mean, I'd be all for it because I like how Invincible kind of handled like a not so shared universe, but kind of shared universe. I'm glad you brought that up though, because I'm gonna have to look into it.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything more than when Radiant Black was being like before the first issue came out and they were doing like press for it and stuff. That was one of the things they were talking about. I don't know the exact wording they used, but it was kind of like this thing where they're like teasing like the idea of having a new superhero universe with Image, and they didn't quite say like if it's gonna be like just a Kyle Higgins thing that he was running, like he's gonna do other spinoffs, or if it's gonna be like other creators would jump. Like they never got into any sort of details. It's just like kind of a tease kind of thing. But how is issue 2 then? So is this a series that you're gonna keep pulling? Like
I don't know. Like, I just don't
feel
like,
obligated to say yes.
No, but it's the weirdest. I have had such a trip with this book. Like again, I read it twice because here's the thing, right? I read the 2 issues and I thought they were fun, right? And they're fun issues. Like they're not particularly what I would say is what I'm looking for in a great comic or a masterpiece of a comic, but they're fun. But his ballsy claim made me go, oh, whoa, you want me to review this in a different light. You don't want me to look at this as fun. You want me to look at this as like best things to slice bread. So I was like, I'm going to reread this in your eyes. And it was shit. When you apply this, like, this is better than everything else, it's bogging. It's like not good at all. Whereas if you read it without that, it's fine. It's good fun. You know, like it's not genre defining. And to be honest, like, you know, like I'm pretty upfront. I really love that kind of confidence coming at the end. But make sure your stuff's not shit. You know, like
Do you think any part of that's like tongue in cheek though? That
I
he
mean,
doesn't literally believe that this is the best superhero comic, that he's kind of like saying like, hey guys, like this is the best superhero comic you should be reading.
I don't know. The thing is, right, the second issue, he does another afterward, and he compares the second issue to Mike Grell's Green Arrow. And I was like, this guy does not stop. Like, he just keeps going. Jesus. Okay, now I have to read the second issue again, like it's a fucking Mike Grell book. You know, like
Issue 3 is going to be all in 9-panel grids. He's going to say this is
it'll be an
than
Alan Moore
Watchmen.
Watchman. Yeah, you know?
Yeah. See, and I think that's a hell of a point that you raised, because I read the first, like, obviously I didn't read the afterword before I read the first issue. So when I read it, I was like, okay, I'm entertained, you know, but I was able to like retroactively like picture it again in my head after having read the afterword, and I was like, this, like I said, it's not what you're saying. I mean, and maybe he's being brash on purpose, like for attention. Maybe it's like a marketing thing. Maybe he's just, I'm here, see me. I don't actually care what you think. I'm being facetious when I say that this is the best superhero book on the rack. You know, I'm just here for marketing purposes or whatever. All of that is possible. But if he means it, then he needs to get his shit together.
Yeah. The thing is like, right, I wouldn't normally be this brutal in a review because I don't want anyone coming after me. But like, you know, the thing is he says, and when he says that, he's like, look, we're going to continue to put this number up each issue, you know, like 2 months of being the best comic on the shelves. And if you disagree with that, that's fine. He wants to hear that. So I'm just saying what he wants to hear. And if he's punk rock and he's happy to fuck the system, then I'll fuck his system and sell him when he's, you know. So
I'm gonna have to find him on Twitter and be like, "Hey, man, your book's not up to snuff with this eighth grade book that I just read."
The way he's talking, I love it. I love the confidence. I love that sort of stuff. You know, like throw it at me, like, you know. And the thing is there is a bit like, you know, I gotta give him some credit, because when he writes this stuff, as crazy as I was finding it, he does like in the second issue, he compares the second issue to like Mike Grell's Green Arrow, but he says that he does not write like Mike Grell. Like it's inspired by him, and like he said like he's got too much Marvel in him. But again, I'm like, okay, well now I got to read it like it's a Marvel book. What do you say? You know, like I just don't know. I don't get the vibe. I like know how you're saying it's tongue in cheek. By all means, it could be. I just don't know. I don't know how to take it. I don't know what and like, you know, in regards to the books themselves, it's just weird because like the first book is like this former superhero coming out of retirement, and you know, as Dan described him, is like a tree hugger. It's like a superhero tree hugger, you know. But then the second issue takes place in space with like a space character, and you're just like, this is nuts. Which again is fun. I enjoy it, but it's not the best thing I'm reading. And I felt like my pull list was strong this week, which made it even more. And the thing is, it's like I could have actually said this was worse than Newburn, but I'm so confused by this book. I don't know if I can say it's the worst. You know, I feel like it gets some credit for the ballsiness of it because I appreciate it. You know.
Yeah. Before you move on, I just have two things to say. One, a sane person would be hearing both of you guys what you're saying and think like, I don't need to read this comic. But I feel like I need to read it even more now. Like I'm excited to go find it and read it just because it sounds crazy. But another thing, it's kind of working for him. We're talking about it. We're spending a lot of time on the issue.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we're talking about it, and you know, like as I say, like I'm maybe being overly harsh because his punk rock nature we've just found out, you know. But yeah, it's just a very odd book. I don't know how to take it. I don't know how to read it. I don't know. It's a bit like off balance with it, you know.
Well, you've already read it 3 times in 3 different contexts. So.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I'm just like, oh, okay, I have no clue. I do think that he.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. The thing is as well, he has these like character bios at the back, and like these characters, he's given them like Wikipedia pages worth of like history.
Yeah,
but
I couldn't read through it. I saw the one in the back of the first issue. I was like, nope, can't do it. I've got shit to
and they're every issue, like a character may get introduced, and they're like these whole Wikipedia pages, and I'm like, I would read this if they were interesting enough to read. Like, I don't care enough to read those background stories, you know? Like, it's just, you know. But saying that, like, again, like, look, the art is incredible. Like, if I can just, like, the art is amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, it's one of those things where, like, it's not my favorite kind of art, but, like, in the context that it's in, I am actually a big fan of it.
You know?
Yeah,
Like,
that looks awesome.
yeah, the art is incredible. And I was totally sold. And then by the end of the first issue, I was like, what did I just read? And I was like, that was pretty good. And then you read the afterward, and you're like, oh.
Yeah,
I
had the same thought as you, though.
I know you're saying that
after I read it, I was like, this actually wasn't that great. Like, I liked it, but now I kind of don't, because this guy is, like, being kind of cocky.
I love the back matter stuff, though, and I know you're saying it's not interesting, so I guess not all back matter is good. Not all back matter is created equal. But I respect the fact that it looks like he is diving deep into these characters enough to build on this universe. So it seems like he's deeply invested into the story.
He said he's building a universe with it.
Yeah, because that's like the Alan Moore way of writing. Like Alan Moore, like he even wrote like a book of like how to write comics, and he always says like he does like the thing where if you're writing a story, you need to do character studies so deep that you know how character A likes his steak cooked, or how character B would react if someone bumped into him in public. Like those kinds of things where like those scenarios might not come up, but you need to know them in case like you get to a path in your story where you make that. So it seems kind of like that school of thought, like he's like diving deep into these profiles and stuff. So I respect that. If it's interesting or not, it's another thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, I don't normally, if I speak this aggressively or passionately about something, I bloody love it. So I'm like, do I secretly love it? And I'm just in denial with myself. Like, I just don't know. I just have no clue. And I don't know about picking up issue 3. I kind of want to, just because it's just, I don't know. Okay. It's the question mark of the week.
Oh my God. Maybe that's like the hook. He's saying that it's the best book on the racks, and he wants us to fucking read it to find out one way or another.
Yeah, it's working. I didn't sleep last night.
Yeah, no, it's working, because I'm probably gonna read issue 2 either after this or tomorrow, and then I'll probably be in the same position as you anywhere. It's like I'm too curious to not keep reading right now.
Right, you know what? I genuinely think right now we should do a chicken dabble, and we should review this every month, this single issue, and just talk about it and see what we think about it.
I'm game for it. I love what Dan's saying. That's a marketing tool. Like, imagine if someone a little bit different was like, this is going to be the greatest comic book you've ever read. And like, you just keep waiting, just wait until the next issue. So like, this hooks people to buy every issue. This is like waiting for the payoff to where it like blows their mind, and it never does, but they just keep buying every issue because
and and look at me, I'm smiling. So I'm like, did I like? I don't know. Like, I just have no clue. I don't know. This is like, as I say, you know, if Newberg, if I have a top pick of the week and worst pick of the week, this is the question mark of the week. Like, I don't know how to feel. So yeah, I think we should maybe look at that and you know, do the thing I just said. Like, basically everything I just said, let's do the opposite and review it monthly. You know, let's just go for it.
So not only is he going to get just your money, he's going to get 3 other people's money as well for these books.
This guy,
whether or not they're shit.
This guy's going to watch this video and listen to me for the first 10 minutes and go, I fucking hate this guy. And then by the end of it, he's like, he just got me 2 new customers. I love this guy.
And the valuable exposure that you can only get on the Cupcake YouTube channel. The fact that all of our 54 subscribers are going to listen and watch this video. Please subscribe so we have a bigger number. But that's advertising space too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he just got a Comic Con or Sunday service, so like, you know, that's a big deal.
Hey, I've been waiting for one of those, and that was good. That was worth the wait, to be honest with you. So
clip that one out. We got the clip for the week.
Hey, guy will look at me going through all these emotions, going, yeah.
He's
my
just
job
saying,
is done.
he's just saying, got him.
yeah, basically.
I say it's like
Right.
the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at like the TV or whatever the fuck it is. He's like
Yeah.
his every emotion that you just express is all the ones that he wanted you to feel. He's like boom, like
And all this to say, it is about as we say, a tree hugging superhero. Maybe there is genius in there. I don't know. Again, I flip flop. I go back and forward. Good luck sleeping tonight. I tell you that. Pondering this question.
I'm not going to sleep because
I know
don't
I'm
have,
not.
I'm not going to sleep because I don't have possession of these issues right now, and I want to read them so bad.
Get them. They'll be collector's items soon. We're not making them collector's items. He's loving us.
They get up CGC'd because this is not only going to be the greatest comic book of all time, but the greatest movie, the greatest TV show, the greatest animated show.
I just heard Netflix is picking it up. You heard it here first. Go on your websites. You know, everyone's got it now. So yeah. That said, we'll put that to bed till issue 3 next month, and then we'll lose our minds again.
yep.
And bring it back down and cool it down a bit this week. You know, I'm sweating a wee bit. You know, I'm gonna bring it to Superman 78, issue 3. So this is like a continuation of Chris Reeve, Richard Donner, Superman. This is issue 3. It's written by Robert Vendetti.
This is like the Superman version of Batman '89, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
I'm surprised
And,
I'm surprised you're not pulling Batman '89 then, since you're pulling that.
I missed issue 1.
Hmm.
They didn't have issue 1 at my store, and I missed. And they had issue 2 and 3, and I just fell behind. And I really wanted to. Like I really wanted to. Luckily, I got this one. This is the one I was more excited for because I love Richard Donner, Chris Reeve, Superman. But I really wanted that one, and thanks for reminding me that I missed that. Yeah, it's drawn by Wilfredo Torres. It's great. Like the thing is like I'm saying this is like the middle ground and we're bringing it back down because it's a chill issue. This series is chill. If I could describe it, it's chill. You want a good time? This series, but you don't want to like get too excited. It's the series. It's just it complements the movies. The art is such a good depiction of what the original movie looked like. It feels like it just continued. All the characters, like Robert Vendetti, all the characters are written to perfection. They all feel, Lex Luthor in particular, just on point. It's a bit quick. Like there's not much meat to it, but there's never going to be because it's based. It's like, although he's changed his saying, it's like Truth, Justice, American Way. It's like it's the classic movie just continued. If you love the movie, highly recommend it. If you love Superman, highly recommend it. If you want an easy read that is good, highly recommend it. So that's all I'll say on that one. Next one is
what issue did you say? What number?
That's issue 3, and it's issue 3 of 6. Okay. So there's 6 issues. Yeah. And to be honest, it's flown by. Like I feel like I only just started picking it up and it's already halfway done.
Dan, I'm curious. Have you seen those movies? The first 2?
I have not. Okay. Like I say, I never really was huge into Superman, and given the fact that those movies came out, like was it 10 or 15 years before I was even born, and never really like got around to it.
Yeah, people that love Superman from 78, which I can tell Connor does, I do as well, hold it in like high regard. That movie holds up. Like it's from 78. You would think that's like this crappy superhero movie with crappy special effects. I will warn you, it's kind of long, so maybe watch it in a couple sittings if it feels a little slow to you. But the movie's a classic, and it still holds up today. I put it up against any superhero movie that's coming out today. I don't think it gets enough praise from people of our generation or thereafter. But I do want to read that series. I just wanted to pull just one of them. I'm gonna wait till the hardcover comes out. But the way you're describing it sounds similar to how I feel about Batman '89, and I'm kind of hoping that they just continue both of them. Like they just like do ongoings for both of them.
That's what I want. I hope that they continue them. I feel like there's a lot there they could continue to develop. And I feel like there's just a lot of potential there. There's a lot of potential. And I mean, right now it's very easy. Like as I say, it's definitely like not overwritten. Like it's very on point. But there's so much potential for it. And yeah, like you talking about like love it. Yeah, I love the original Superman. I have a Blu-ray box set of it, but I have a 4K box set that I wasn't a 4K version of the the first Superman movie, and on the back, I can't remember specifically, but it's got a blurb. It's like got like Christopher Reeve Superman, and all that. And then at the end, it's like you'll remember what it was like as a kid to learn that a man could fly. And I was like, I can't get it. It's like so excited. I was like, oh my god, you made me feel like a kid again.
Man, and like I said, the movie, it might feel slow to you, but here's a pitch to how enjoyable it is. My son and I watched it when he was like 3 years old, which think about the attention span of a 3-year-old. He sat there glued to the TV the entire time, and then spent the next like 4 hours after the movie running around the house acting like he was flying. Like, so it's, I mean, it caught his attention for it. What's that?
No, sorry, Tanner. No, on you go, Tanner. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, so it held his attention, and it's just a classic movie. It's wonderful.
I don't want to let it go that he just called you Tanner twice.
Oh no. Oh god.
So.
I'm still worked up.
Connor, that's like the worst thing you can call me.
Tanner's never gonna let you hear the end of that.
Call me a cockwomble, call me a bellend, but don't call me Tanner.
Hey, Taylor actually enjoys things, so that's rude of you.
He doesn't
That's
sell
right.
them.
I love comics. Tanner
Loves
comics. I'll just say reads comics.
Yeah.
Loves
What I was gonna say as well, I have the 4-hour TV cut of Superman, the original film.
Oh, like
There
the
was
Richard Donner cut?
Yeah, there was basically when it came out, they wanted to put it on TV, but they wanted it to be a bigger event. They wanted it to be something different. So if I remember rightly, they shot some more scenes and integrated them in the original movie. And it's a 4-hour cut that was shown over 2 nights with two, like split into 2 hours each. And yeah, it's huge and it's ace.
Oh, sorry.
I think no, sorry. I think it's like a Die Hard. Like you gotta really love it to.
Oh yeah, I always heard though that the first and second movie were like filmed together, and they intended it for be one movie, but then it got so long that they split it in two.
Yeah. So see, with Richard Donner's movies, I actually prefer. The Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, it's good, but I don't like it. Reason being because if you watch them, you know, like they kind of recreate it. So it was Richard Donner. There's a version out there that's Richard Donner's Superman 2. It's the same ending as Superman 1 because the ending of Superman 1 was supposed to be the ending of Superman 2. So if you watch them back to back, they have the same endings.
I've actually never seen the Richard Donner cut of either of those, so I need to watch those.
The thing is, though, it's funny because like the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 is surprising because I don't know if it's nostalgia, but growing up, it's such almost a hokey comedy at points with some of the stuff that happens. A lot of that's cut out of the Richard Donner cut for number 2, and when you watch it, I actually found myself missing that hokey sort of comedy. Like growing up with it, that's just what I expected the movie to be. So when you see it without it, you're like, oh, it's lost a bit of like you know a bit of like personality,
the charm.
But, yeah. So, but the thing is like obviously, if Richard Donner had his way, then the 2 movies would have been different. And I don't think, although it's his cut, I don't think it's specifically what would have happened. Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah.
I just want to point out that this whole tangent is solely my fault because you were ready to move on to the next issue, and I had the audacity to ask you what number it was, and then it turned into the.
Yeah, I know. What's he like, Taylor? What's he like, Taylor? Jesus.
Oh boy.
So the next, the next issue is issue number 1 because it's a special, Dan. So don't ask me and interrupt me again. It's a Batman Superman Authority Special.
I knew that's what you picked up. You didn't want to admit it to me, but I knew it.
No, I have it. I have some integrity. No spoilers, Taylor. Taylor spoiled his pool, what he pulled to Dan. We try and keep this like secret to each other so we can kind of surprise each other during these chats. But Taylor just went in there, just threw the whole thing out there. Dan was. I
didn't understand that was what we were doing here. I thought it was like
it was an unspoken rule.
I thought it was like, hey, I'll let you know what I pulled so that if you guys go to the shop later, you can pick it up, or if you wanted to check it out and you can prep some questions for me or...
No, I don't want that sort of pressure to like find out that you have both pulled 2 and I've pulled 400. You know, like I'm like, oh god, that's a lot of talking. Yeah, and Taylor grabbing his collected editions just to beef it up.
I know, it's like this huge stack.
I know. I was like, more, because then I can talk more.
Well, that's what I said. I had this huge stack of Dan's like, I don't know, maybe we should do collected editions. I'm like, if Connor can do his 10, 15 pull issues, I could talk about some books.
I believe in an equal world. So yeah, Authority Special. It's written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and it's really weird and awesome because the art is done by a few people. So it's done by So Trevor Hairsine, Jonathan Glapian, Scott Hanna, and Rain Barreto. They do art for Earth Zero, which is like the DC universe. Like that's what we know. And then Ben Templesmith does the art for what's called Shadow Earth, right? Now, this book, this week was so good for like, I had too many picks for top pick. This could have been top pick, but I have a bunch that like were better.
This is like what, the fourth one you brought up, and this one could have been the top pick?
Dan.
Yeah, this is what I mean.
Same wavelength. Dan, I was thinking the same. I'm like, this is only the 4th of 10, and that could have been your pick of the week. This was a great week for you. Why did we spend so much time on Frontiersman?
Because that baby was
that's good.
I don't know.
That's some high quality content. Yeah, it's 8 months from now when Connor finally like fully appreciates Frontiersman. He's like, you know what? Issue 2 was my pick of the week that week.
Yeah, he's gonna go, hey Dan, can you go back and edit that video because I want to make sure that it's known that was my pick of the week.
Yeah, you know, and in like a year's time when I'm fighting for that deluxe edition slipcase on eBay, you know, you're like, give it to me, I love it. Now I'm promoting his collected editions, damn it.
And they don't even exist yet, but
they don't exist. I'm already saying, give him a slipcase, damn it.
You know what though? They'll be the best collected editions that come out that year.
Yep.
Oh man. But yeah, okay. So with this issue, right? There's a big Superman story going on right now with John taking over as Superman and Superman going into space. Superman's going into space to take on this big threat with Warworld, but he has to leave Earth, and he's also growing weaker in his powers. So this is a huge event, that kind of thing that's going on in Superman right now. Now, Grant Morrison wrote a 4-issue series called Superman and the Authority that set up Superman setting up a team to take into space. Now, I really enjoyed that series, but I don't know if it's next week or it's soon. Philip Kennedy Johnson's going to take over that story from Grant Morrison in Action Comics and start writing where that story left off, where it goes. So I'm really excited for that book, but I almost felt like, oh man, like I feel like it just ends and then starts. I feel like there should be a bridge. This special does a good job of filling that bridge because not only do you get more character moments with the team, some of them are a bit in the background, but you also, this is like Superman's goodbye to Batman before he leaves. And there's just something like it's not written overly emotional because it's Batman, but there's just something about it. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You know,
here
Batman's kind
of. So I was gonna say, here I was about to make a joke about DC trying to fit Batman into another title, and you're off saying all this like heartfelt stuff about it being like a little send off.
Because the thing is that it's written in the story that like Justice League, they didn't want to be a part of this, like Superman's thing. They didn't want to be a part of this, and he's like, oh, so he kind of finds like a ragtag bunch of. They're not even heroes. Manchester Black is one of them. Enchantress, Apollo and Midnighter. Like this, it's a really weird group. Like obviously, like Apollo and Midnighter, I believe were in the first Authority. I've never read that.
I was gonna say those are the only names. Like I'm not well versed in the Authority. I have two of the books, but Apollo and Midnighter were the only ones that I recognized from actually being part of the Authority. So I was curious why it was even called that.
Yeah. It's a crazy team and it's a crazy dynamic, and like the character moments in this are really good. The cool thing is like there's so much good commentary in it because there's like you know, it's not really a spoiler, but there is a kind of moment that's brought up where like Batman, like so Superman, like, you know, Batman's like, what the hell is going on with this team, you know? And the team itself kind of realized like there's something not right here. This mission, basically, the whole issue is about a mission Batman needs help with, and the problem is that the heroes, like the Justice League, won't really agree with this mission. So he's like, okay, well, I'll get Superman's team before he leaves, and Superman's like, oh, this is kind of training for them as well. This is another training session before we go off into space. And it's cool because like Batman brings up the fact that Superman asked for help from the Justice League, and they were all like, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that." But the minute Batman's like, "Hey, can I get your help?" Superman's like, "I'm there," and it's just like a really cool little, like, it's a good character moment. As I say,
What's going on with the Justice League that they're denying Superman and Batman with shit that they need to get done?
I think, well, it's because this issue's a bit like cool. It's cool. I'm gonna go into it, right? Because there's quite a bit to talk. Like, there's to talk about technically about it, but the essentially, it's the dark multiverse, which is a thing that kind of built off from metal and death metal, right? And it's like it's an Earth in the dark multiverse that is basically threatening to spill over, and Batman's become aware of it because of somebody he knows is there. And they have to kind of close it. They have to make sure that they can't get through. So it is in essence, it's a kind of generic sort of like idea. But Superman, I'm not actually sure, because I read up to a certain point with Justice League, but I just think that Justice League has too much going on. Like DC Universe is quite cohesive right now, and they're doing a lot. Like Justice League have a lot going on. So I think that that's maybe why they're not going, because they're like, hey, we've got a lot to deal with. We can't, But Batman is trying to, because he wants to stop this other Earth. It's essentially, I think, like his tactics and what he wants to do is maybe a bit too upfront for the Justice League. They're like, that's not really us. And he's like, okay, well, as you know, Batman will be like, oh, I'll find someone else. And he finds Superman and his team. So what's really cool about this book, what I really love, right? I'll show you. So the art itself, like, so on Earth Zero, our Earth, the art looks like this, right? It's like classic DC, classic DC art, and it's like, it just looks like every other world, kind of not standard art. I don't want to get discredited with that. It just looks like what you would expect. But then when they go to the dark multiverse, so this is where Enchantress kind of changes it, right? So that's the artist that have been working on the book so far. And then this is Ben Templesmith. Now, Ben Templesmith might have come up because he was recently we had a controversial book club, and Ben Templesmith, I believe, drew 30 Days a Night. And so they get Ben Templesmith, and when they go to the dark multiverse, Ben Templesmith draws it, and it's absolutely incredible. Like, it's incredible, and like, it's not someone you would normally expect to see draw Superman and Batman. And it's ace, because like they're commenting like, oh, this world doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, and then obviously that matches up with the art changing.
And I love that when you said that there were multiple people on it, and then you had mentioned like so and so drew Earth Zero, and then this guy's on the Shadow Earth. I was like, damn, how cool would that be? Like, before you even got into it, I was like, how cool would it be if like an alternate dimension was drawn differently in comics, like more regularly? Because I've never seen or heard of that being done. Obviously, I only know so much, but I think that's fucking brilliant, and I kind of hope that like more books try that without like directly ripping off of like this, for instance.
Yeah, because like the thing is like, I mean, look at like Ben Templesmith. I can't, it doesn't do it justice, but it's amazing. And like what I love is like that panel that page I showed you earlier, where it starts off like what you would expect, but the minute they change, it's Ben Templesmith drawing the eyes, and it's the same later on. I mean, like look at that. Awesome. Like, it's mental.
I love the lettering there too. Around
I mean, yeah.
No, I mean, well, that's great too, but I meant like the screen.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it adds to like the whole like, okay, this is a different universe, and in the case of the Shadow Earth, where it's like some sort of like essentially evil dimension or whatever you want to call it, like you actually get that like, feel like every.
Yeah, because like, see this page, for instance, like the top, that's Ben Templesmith, but they're teleporting back, and it goes back to the art you would expect.
It's brilliant.
So it's
my issue with this so far now is that, how is it going to be collected? Are they going to collect the Grant Morrison, this, and Action Comics together in like a deluxe edition, or do I have to go and buy like a trade here and there? Like, that sounds like that's one of my issues with American comics. Sounds like a nightmare to read.
So this is the thing, like, so recently we've had a lot of discussions about DC and how they're doing all these miniseries. I am super curious how they're going to collect them as well, because as I say, these like 1 of 6 or 2 of 6, whatever, like these 6-issue miniseries, the 3, they're all like pieces of a puzzle, and some fit together. And I'm curious as well as how they fit this, because like, for instance, I know that Future State, when they did that, they did trades that were grouped together. Like, so although it was a Suicide Squad book, you would have had other Future State series just kind of thrown in there. And I'm kind of wondering now, are they going to do like Action Comics will just be like volume 5 and it'll be that story, or are they going to do like bundle it and do like a group? Because I mean, like, yeah, I mean, Grant Morrison's Superman and the Authority, that could be a book, and Action Comics part of the story could be a book, but where do you fit that now? Do you know what I mean? Like,
maybe they collect that in a trade paperback with the Grant Morrison part, the 4 issues or whatever it was. But I did say you're selling me on this. I would have almost zero interest in ever reading an Action Comics ongoing series. Maybe if it was like an omnibus that was really highly touted or something like that. But the setup for this now has me intrigued with. I just love the idea and the concepts that you're talking about with having those different characters from different universes interacting, and like that's the kind of stuff I liked, is like pulling a character from here and there and then seeing them meet. Like the MCU, for instance, like a lazy example would be that would be like how do like that's one of the coolest things was like when you see like this character from this movie and this character from this movie interact. Like when the Guardians of the Galaxy meet Iron Man, like how cool is that to see those characters interact, kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing as well, because like one of the things that I was kind of curious about was like, although Superman was like building this team in Superman the Authority, he was still around in John Kent's series, the Superman series. So I was like, what's going to happen? But the last issue, he said like goodbye. That was him leaving. And when I got to that issue, that part, I was like, oh man, like I was like, oh my, like he's gone now. Like John has to deal with this. Like he's been such a presence in the series that now that he's gone, it's really good. Like with Tom Taylor writing it, but you almost feel like, oh wow, that safety net's gone. But at the same time, as much as you're excited about John, you're also thinking, but Superman's away off to space, and they're building this story up really well and slowly. And what was cool was DC Fandom. Jim Lee spoke about the Superman books, and one of the things he spoke about was Philip Kennedy Johnson's Action Comics, like where this story starts, how him and the Authority are going to be on Warworld and stuff. And yeah, I'm really here for it. I'm very excited for it. It's done a really good job. All the pieces are kind of being set up, and I'm excited to see the payoff. I definitely think Jim Lee described it as like a modern day Superman epic, kind of like in the style of Death of Superman. And it does read like that. I can imagine one day, if this is long enough, there will be an omnibus of this, like Superman and the Authority, like what they do and what their journey is and how their mission and stuff. So yeah, all in all, again, I really recommend it. It could have easily been my pick of the week. It was fun, exciting. The art, as I say, like the difference in the dimensions was crazy good. There's a cliffhanger that I think maybe, I can't say it's a con, but I'm like, be careful not to retread what you've already done, but to say more would be a spoiler. But yeah, like it set up some really cool stuff, and again, like highly recommended. So
to touch on like how it would be collected, do you think it would work potentially? Like I know you touched on, what was it, the Future State books, and I think I've seen a few of those because they're kind of thick, right? Those paperback books. I mean, do you think that something like this could work in like a similar way that like the Dawn of X and Reign of X trades? Now, I'm not saying specifically it's one issue that like from everything that released like that month. I'm not saying that part, but something where like it'll have, I'm not saying the Shazam and like Titans Academy will tie into Superman, but like Shazam kind of takes place like supposedly out of the pages of Titans Academy. Do you think that those would work in a book together, similar, to, I guess, like the Future State books or what have you?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because there's a lot of, having read a lot of it right now, there's a lot of it tying in with each other, and it's fantastic, like really fun. Like how Taylor was saying, like they it's like MCU-esque how you're seeing like Peacemaker and Suicide Squad. He's left Suicide Squad, he's in Swamp Thing, but he's come back, and I'm like, oh, what did you do in Swamp Thing? I want to read Swamp Thing to see what he did over there, And you don't need it for the Suicide Squad, but it'd be fun to know what happened while he was away.
Uh-huh.
Your thing about the Dawn of X, I completely agree. And the problem is that you could obviously flood the market with trade paperbacks or something, and it'd probably be detrimental. But I definitely think there needs to be thought put into it. Like, I think it was really smart releasing all the X-Men titles individually, so you could get like New Mutants, or you could get X-Men, or you could get Excalibur, but also releasing the Dawn of X titles so that you could just read them in order, the way that they were kind of being mapped out in the back of the issues anyway. The only criticism I have of those is I actually think they're too small. I think that one issue from each series in a book is not enough. Having read some of that, I wish there was more issues, like maybe issue 1s and 2s of each in one trade paperback, even if it was a bit chunkier. I just think you get more meat, because like you're reading one issue, then you're on to the next issue, then you're on the next issue. You're like, oh, I'm getting no.
Yeah, I do think, and that's why I said it. I don't necessarily want it to replicate like the Dawn of X / Reign of X books, because I don't love the one issue idea per month, essentially from each book, especially because in the case with DC, like I'm not reading any of it at the moment, so I don't know what specifically will tie in together. But if it does become this epic that you're saying it's been alluded to be, if they come up with a name for it, if they have like a few pieces of it, connecting this puzzle that you're saying that it's making, I'm really curious how they go about collecting it. And I hope it's in a way that makes sense without it just being like, okay, here's, 4 of these trades. There's no way you're going to know without Googling it that these are connected, but these are the 4 that take up like this portion of this story, and like so on and so forth.
The thing is, I definitely think that personally, I think you could easily do. See, the difference with this compared to the Dawn of X stuff, right, is that my criticism of Dawn of X doesn't apply to this really. Dawn of X having one issue each is like, as we say, it's not really satisfactory. You want more. This wouldn't be like one issues. This would be a full story. So I don't think it would hurt them to release like a Grant Morrison Superman and the Authority book, and then like an Action Comics Volume 5. But then maybe down the line, like, or at the same time, collecting just a Superman and the Authority book. Because there's people that will be reading Action Comics that won't have read this other stuff. And I mean, it remains to be seen how much it ties in. But I presume, because it's Philip Kennedy Johnson who's been writing it for the past maybe 7 months now, it'll continue over a lot of plot points from his previous run as well, his previous arcs as well. So I don't see why they couldn't do that and just release the different formats, kind of. It would be quite a lot of trades to release. But I mean, if Marvel are doing so many with Dawn of X and they're selling, I don't see why you couldn't do it with this,
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, we have yet to see how they'll map it out, or if it becomes this epic that you're who it was, Jim Lee, you said that it was, or that it could be, or whatever. I mean,
he said it fandom and stuff and showed art, and I was like, cool. Like, I think a lot of people, like some people that were watching it for like the movies and stuff would have been bored by that, but like I really enjoyed just seeing that, like, them talk about comics and kind of tease that, especially being up to date with it, because I was like, oh wow, this is me it's speaking to, but yeah, reading the first issue of Authority, with the Grant Morrison's Authority, like Superman and Authority, I wasn't sure if I was going to love it, but now I'm up to this point. I'm like, okay, I'm like in that spaceship with Superman. I'm ready to go up into space. Let's see where this goes. I'm with them. I'm curious as to what's going to happen in space. They've really hyped this up. Shit's going to go down. I'm excited. And the thing is, because they've got John as Superman on Earth, I'm like everyone's treating it like Superman's not coming back. Like the way that like John and like Lois and all that, and Superman's parents, the way they all deal with this, it's coming across like, and it's good, because I don't know if he's gonna survive or not, and that's amazing, because that doesn't happen often nowadays. And because the Authority team are filled with these awesomely kooky characters that wouldn't normally be in a team like this, like they're all they could easily die as well. These are characters that I guess nobody would miss, like, other than a couple. So I'm really like, there's stakes here, and and then you couple that with the idea that John now has no backup as Superman. you're like, there's stakes on all over the place, and it's extremely exciting, you know.
So I can't wait to hear your thoughts when it gets further along to see if it's something that's going to be
well, I'm
interesting.
curious to do, when we do our solicitation video for next week's solicitations. I'm excited because I feel like it might be next week. If it's not, I'm going to be disappointed. But it's coming up. It's soon. I know that much. Because again, like I think Philip Kennedy Johnson's last issue of Action Comics was also like tying into John and Lois saying bye to Clark. So it is very much like he's leaving now. You know, we've gotten past the point of the build up. He's now in the midst of leaving, and I think this special, as I say, filled a gap for me that I needed, but also it was more adding to like the training, building the characters of the team, and like he's about to leave. You know, so it's really cool. So yeah, on that, the next issue, which again could have easily been pick of the week, Dark Knights of Steel, which
I figured that you got it in the face that I saw you make when I pulled my copy out. I was like, yeah, he definitely pulled it.
So interesting thing about this, right, is obviously last week I picked up DC versus Vampires. Both are 12-issue series. Both are these like, I don't like Elseworld superhero stories. This is how you do it. Like DC versus Vampires, I'm like, I can trade weight. See this? There's the art is gorgeous. So it's written by Tom Taylor. I don't know if you said Dan, but it's written by Tom Taylor, and it's the art is Yasmin Pushri. Holy hell, the art is magnificent. But this is like a medieval DC, like, and like some of the developments in it and the ending, I was like, oh, okay, you've got me. You know, like DC versus Vampires is very much like a first issue.
Sorry, I heard the ending of that issue was like mind-blowing, like an awesome hook for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be scared to say mind-blowing, because I wouldn't want someone to read it and go, that wasn't mind-blowing. But we'll say
he doesn't want people to look at it the same way he did Frontiersman.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Let's not go there again. You know, I don't want to.
You say can't set the bar too high.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's mind-blowing, but it definitely hooked me. Like all the build-ups, there was like characters showing up, and I got excited because I was like, oh, I know who they are, and I was like, well, they're a bad guy, or character go up, and I go, whoa, wait, so they're magic now? And I was like, had so many questions, and then there was like a tease of a character that one of my favorites, and I was like, whoa, okay, they're a big plot point, and there's all these little hints to the world, and then Tom Taylor said that the relationship between Batman and Superman would be really interesting in this book, and yeah, it is. It really is. It twists a lot on its head, but I was loving it, and then the ending happened, and yeah, that's definitely got me. That's like, I can't wait for a trade for that. I gotta know what happens next, you know, because it's super interesting. Trust me, I can't wait for you to read it, Dan, to see what you think about it. But I can't really say too much about it because it's spoiled. It's a sort of book that it really does need to not be spoiled. So yeah, so I'm on my final two now, and again, these two. So the next one could easily be in pick of the week, and that is, you'll get this, Taylor. Human Target.
And I've been looking forward to your thoughts on this.
Oh man,
I know I told you, because we both talked about this, about how we're so forward because we both love Tom King, especially when he's doing maxi series. And I saw this on the stands, but I told you this, and I stuck to it. I said, I'm going to wait to hear your thoughts on this if I need to pick this up or not.
I gotta tell you, like, I know it's a black label book, but the build of the book is so nice. I mean, look at that. You can see the shine. Look at that shine. God damn. You know, like
the technical term is spot gloss.
Look at that spot gloss.
No one cares about the technical term.
God damn. Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah, you know what? It's like a fine wine with Tom. I don't care what anyone says about Tom King. I don't care. Like, I get that it's the second half of his Batman maybe dropped off a bit. I don't care what anyone says. Tom King is one of the best writers going around right now. It's like he's like a fine wine. You just pop that cork, you let the wine breathe, you know, swirl it a wee bit, get the taste, and then have a gulp. That's what that is. It's like, you know, this is like the opposite of what I said about Newburn. It's just like underwritten in the best way. right. So Tom King does this thing I absolutely love, and I wish more people would do it. Right, he just lets a story breathe. Like, so in a normal comic book, if say two characters were like, let's just say smooching, right? They were kissing. You would get like, I love you. Next panel, they're kissing. Tom Taylor doesn't do that, and I love it. What he'll do is he'll have like this really nice like conversation maybe, and then what he'll do is he'll break down not just like the kiss but the movements. I'm saying this because I'm thinking about his Catwoman and Batman. He breaks it down so it doesn't just happen on one bit large panel. It's like it's broken down so you see all the little movements, and it just lets the characters breathe and make them feel more realistic and real. You know?
Yes, 100%. I think it mistakenly said Tom Taylor again, but Tom King. I just wanted to correct you so people don't give you crap for it. But I said this too because Tom King is not the artist. However, this is something that's present in all of his storytelling, and it makes you want to read his scripts to see how he writes it out, because no matter who the artist is, he does exactly what you're talking about. And he like, it's this thing where he captures characters in not so like flattering positions too, to where it makes it look realistic. So like there's a lot of times like in the Mr. Miracle run that I love so much, where like Big Barda would be like, she wouldn't be like looking like she's posing for a picture. She'd be like caught in like one of those like weird, you know, like with the meme where when girls are like do their face like this because they're like, you know, I don't look perfectly photographed. I'm like, I look like ugly. I don't know, ugly is not the right word, but just like caught in a moment, I guess. But it's exactly what you're saying. So it's like he shows these moments where it's like the in between almost, and it almost gives like this animated feel to it a little bit, but like, and like realistic too. It's like you feel like if you're just sitting there talking with your friends or whatever, like you get those moments where you just like look at somebody and they don't look like they're posing for an Instagram picture. And but the art itself is not like hyper realistic either. Like it's still got this like comic book feel to it, which I love too. So that one's drawn by Greg Smallwood, right?
Yeah, and it's drawn so well. Like, I mean, like, look at that.
Yeah, the funny thing about this is, so Mitch Gerrits, who was the artist on Mr. Miracle, who has a very similar style, I feel, to Greg Smallwood. But I wonder if the colorist is the same, because the coloring looks the same, similar too, as far as Mr. Miracle. But Mitch Gerrits or Gerrits, I forget how to say his last name. But when the first teaser images for this was coming out, he was tweeting like, Greg Smallwood's making us all look like peasants. Like his artwork is just amazing. And then this week when this issue was dropping, he said, he posted it and said like, for every comic book artist in the industry, get ready to feel inferior. I'm paraphrasing, but feel ready to feel bad about yourself as an artist, because Greg Smallwood's Human Target #1's coming out. It's just funny too that like they both worked with Tom King. They both have like similar styles, but Mitch Gerrits like holds him to this like really high regard. And they're both amazing. I love both of them as artists. But it's just, I love exactly what you're saying, and it makes me want to read Tom King scripts, because even though he's not the artist, all his stories share that similar storytelling devices that you're saying right there. So
yeah, and it's just, I wish I saw more of it in comics. Like I'd say a lot of good things about DC, but I remember reading last year a book called Flash Forward, written by Scott Lobdell and drawn by Brett Booth.
yeah, no.
I think it's Brett Booth. I'm not sure, but anyway, I read this book and it was to do with Wally West, and it's the first time he sees his kids again, and like this is like years in the making. I'm like, people have been desperate for this forever, and he sees his kids, and it's like, he's upset, and it's one panel, and then that's it. It goes on, and it's just like, in what world? Do you not feel like that deserves more than one page? Like, screw all the other crap. I don't care about all this like time travel and like running through time. That's what we're here for. We're here for that emotional hook. You know, I wanted to see that, and I want to see it organically. And I think that it really disappoints me when I see Tom King get a lot of hate because again, right? So his Batman run, I think the first half of it's magnificent. I think after the wedding of Batman and Catwoman, it does take it takes a dip. And I don't know if that's because he got rushed or if DC, because he obviously, I think he's technically finishing his run in the Batman Catwoman series. But he just like I appreciated this swing he took with Batman. He took away the I am Batman aspect of them and took in like the mental health aspect. Now, yeah, does Tom King write a lot of like the same style? Like all the characters go through like the same sort of thing. Like everyone's like, oh, he just writes depressing stuff, or he just writes like this. He just, but I don't care. Like I don't see anyone else write like this, and I don't.
And
and
I mean,
I want him.
and every artist or writer has their own tropes about them. Like the funny thing, like Jeff Lemire, people say like, well, every Jeff Lemire story takes place on a farm and has a hockey player in it, or takes place in Canada, and they'll say like, I don't know, like Alan Moore always does like this thing with characters. Like so, every writer has a trope. It's just a matter of how they work around it and how they evolve upon it or build upon that. And from what I've read of Tom King, it sounds like I think you've read more than I have. But from what I read of him, it sounds like he is building upon that and developing it. And I'm stoked for the hardcovers to come out for Rorschach and Strange Adventures, because those are two series that I really wanted to read. And when I started my pull list, they're both in the middle of their runs. And I think my LCS had like the back issues for them, but I just figured I'd wait for them. So I'm looking forward to those. But I don't know, maybe I should jump on this because I've never read a Tom King book monthly like that. I've always read them collected.
The thing is like I 100% think as well. See, if you pull this book, like I just think you could frame that. Like you could just frame it.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's just gorgeous. And again, because of the build of the book, it just complements it even more. And like again, like I know Dan commented on the way that my local comic shop lays out the comics, like lays them on top of the table, you know, just like lays them scattered up. But that instantly drew my eye because it's just so like the psychedelic circles.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
a beautiful design. I mean, just the composition of it, having that character with his back turned, and he's just like in a very stoic. Yeah, he's in a very stoic pose, and you have all those fists coming out in action towards them. Like the composition of that art is amazing.
Yeah, it's not overdoing anything, but everything that it's doing is done so well that it's still a really nice cover without being overly flashy or detailed or whatever. I love the simplicity of it.
What's
the back? The back as well. It has this calendar, and I'm curious as if this is going to be like a bigger piece or if it's just like a separate one. Do you know what I mean?
I love the composition of that too. The fact that it's like cut off there. It's like just showing you just like so you can see that it's on someone's wall. Like the composition of that image is cool too.
Well, do you know what's really cool? And I think this is a leaf out of like maybe Doomsday Clock or something, because Doomsday Clock did the same thing. But like, so just a brief hint, right? I believe this is a 12-issue series, and the panels at the start, basically it starts at the end of so it's day 1 to 12. This starts at the end of day 12, and it basically shows you a glimpse of like day 11, and then it goes like if you look is day 10, day 9, day 8, day 7, and I think it's almost maybe like a panel from each issue, and then it starts at day 1, and that's where the story begins, you know. And also if you look at the back, the calendar, it goes up to number 12, and number 1 is X'd. So I think it's like it's the day. I think this might like X as it goes along.
The design choices there, I love that. It's cut off perfectly to show, like it's a storytelling device as well.
Yeah, and also on top of that, like, so this cover is smarter than I ever gave it credit for. I can't say it's a spoiler, but it wasn't until well after I read this issue, I was looking at the cover and I thought, hot damn, like the premise of the book. Okay, so it's like, okay, they're in this book and he's in this book, you know, so like what's going on? The cover's smarter than it appears, but not in the way that you would think it does. I would love to say, but it would be a spoiler, but it's just the cover is way smarter than I think a lot of people would give it credit for.
This is the kind of stuff that elevates the medium. I love that stuff, that just that attention to detail. It's not just like, let me put this cool character on a cover and sell it that way. Like, yeah,
because I did really question. I questioned why they would be in the same book. Like, to be honest, I'm still questioning when it's set, but like, yeah, I mean, like when you find out why, I was like, oh, that's smart. Like, that's really smart. In just a brief glimpse, this is not in the book, but like that classic recreation.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'm here for that because I love Justice League International.
That's what we were talking about with My Bad.
Yeah, if you look at the two, like if you put yours up on the screen and I put mine's up, they're if I can find it quickly. Crap, I lost the page.
I don't know if people are gonna be able to see both of them at the same time, but I'm just gonna talk. So you
Oh,
can
of course,
see
yeah.
this
Yeah,
one,
if you talk, so
and then you can show
and
content.
then this one. There we go. So it's like the same style, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, like that was like again another could have been top pick. This was so close to being top pick. And there's one series that I mean you both know, but Dan particularly, he's mentioned it, he knows, and I've not brought up yet. And this is my top pick of the week, as Radiant Black.
Okay.
There. I was really like anticipating what it was going to be, given the fact that you said all these other books could have been. I was like, number one, it has to be really fucking special. If on any other week, 4 of those other books could have been your number one pick.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm assuming that an issue of Amazing Spider-Man came out this week because that has to be your number one.
You made me think there. I was like, did I miss an issue?
The look on his face, oh, that was priceless. I was like, oh, he didn't get it. It didn't click yet. But then he had that aha moment.
How dare you?
Hey, that's payback for calling me Tanner.
Yeah, okay, I'll accept that.
We're even now.
Okay. Peace has been restored.
Thank you. Owen's presence is being felt on this stream.
Peacemaker Owen. Yeah, this was incredible. Like, it's really funny. So I had a discussion with both Taylor and Dan earlier in the week about Kyle Higgins. I have this thing with him that I really like his writing, but when I've listened to him, he tends to speak about how he writes like deep characterization, and I don't know if I definitely appreciate the attempt, and I do think he does hit it, but I don't know if he ever hits it in the way that, I don't know, like the way he talks, but or with the way I feel. And he's been close a few times with Radiant Black. Like, I think in particular, issue 3 is very much a day in the life, and it was really fun to read, and it was interesting, and I like that. The first issue introduces the character and has a lot of a situation, they have a lot of problems in their life, and I thought that's cool, but it's the first issue, you're introducing them and that. But it was like very like, okay, you can go deep on these, but that's a first issue. Are you going to continue that down the line? Is this going to be forgotten about? But this issue, and this could have been pick of the cover of the week for me. That's why I called you out in your variant. I was like, this is my cover. This is one of my covers of the week. You get that variant. Yeah, the book is the issue. It's hard to describe without spoiling it, which is a pain. But it is deep characterization. It's not very actiony. Also, Dan, I think this issue really does bring in your criticism of it being advertised as a superhero book. I felt this issue was very much back in the superhero genre and not the tokusatsu one. Which
kind
isn't
of a
spoiler,
relief.
but
I'm looking forward to reading it. Like I said, I think I'm up to issue 7, so I'm a couple weeks behind. And I know that I bought 9 physically, and I got it confused. I forgot that it had actually come out this week. I said earlier that I was looking at like the previous month's wall, but that's because I tried to collect some of the back issues as well, and I opted not to because they didn't have issue 7, I think. Like, I know that the first couple like went to like 3 or 4 printings or 3 printings, but like they had 8 on the wall, and then they were missing 7. I'm like, wow, I can't even go 2 issues back without like finding one that's missing. So I just didn't bother, and I'll fucking look it up on eBay if I really want the first 8 issues that I'm missing.
Yeah, the thing is as well with this book is it's a guest artist, Eduardo Ferragato, instead of Marcelo Costa. It says that Marcelo Costa was doing more with it, had to do some extra work on issue 10, which is that infamous blacklight issue. But this is quite a heavy issue. There's a lot of there's a big emotional aspect to this issue, and Ferragato like covers it excellently. There's a lot of like moments in here that I don't forget. Like it did stay with me, but also like just the dialogue was on point. It was just really well made. And also it's got me super hyped for this blacklight issue, because this, like, now I know what that issue is going to be about. I'm super stoked for it. Like you know, the the blacklight centric like conversations we had about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. But this issue tees off that issue, obviously, and now I know what the point of it is. I'm extremely excited to see where it goes. And honestly, This is
exciting to hear that sorry, it's exciting to hear that there's like an intention towards why it's there.
And the thing is like, honestly, with this issue, I could maybe say that this, although it's, the thing is me saying this could be like very like tokusatsu centric, but I genuinely think that like, I think that the Power Rangers series are very nearly like my picks of the month. Like they're always written high quality. This one's now reaching that level. Like this is like the best superhero. Like, well, we're speaking about Frontier Man. This is the best superhero comic I read this week. This is the best superhero comic I've read outside of Power Rangers in a while. You know, like I really love this issue a lot. And yeah, like I'm just hyped to see where it goes, because the last 4 issues have been very action heavy. And it felt like the same, like the story was going on and on. I was like, okay, like it's funny because Kyle Higgins did that with Power Rangers as well. Power Rangers is obviously well known for being like one-off episodes, and Kyle Higgins did not do that at all. He did occasional like one-off issues, but it was very much like big epics. And by the time he was like getting through his big epics, I was like, I'd actually like to go back to the one-off issues. You know, like let's just like breathe a little bit. But with this is like an issue in between, I think, arcs, and this is again like there's a really well-paced, well-written breather issue that still had a lot of impact with it. And the minute I put it down, I was like, this is probably going to be my pick of the week, and it was. Yeah.
Dang, I just checked. So Hoopla has the first trade paperback, which collects the first 6 issues, but they don't. Sometimes they have like single issues on there too. I'm gonna have to find a way to read issues 7, 8, 9 before I get to issue 10. But I'm definitely this week. I'm gonna try to read the first trade paperback at least, because both of you guys, the conversation we had last week and now this, obviously, have me kind of hooked on the idea of the series.
I definitely think now that I'm at this point, like I'm at issue 9. I know it sounds like, like I'm finally in, but I'm all in on this series. Like issue 9, like this was what the missing piece that I needed. Like I needed this issue. And I'm all on board now. I can't see me dropping this. Even if like somehow turn crap or something out of nowhere, like I still think I would give it benefit of the doubt, because it has everything I like, has all the genres I like. It has the writing style that I like. It's just excellent. And the thing is I don't know if they're building a universe out of it. You know, like our conversation earlier about DC building the universe. I don't know if they are out of this. It feels like it could easily be a universe, but almost like Invincible, I'd rather it be a contained universe. I don't want it to dilute too much, because it feels like every issue is like a piece of the puzzle. As we said last week, there's a big twist about issue 4 that really pulls the rug from underneath you, and you're like, okay, cool. After that, I was like, okay, am I on board with this? Am I not? And you kind of give each issue, and it developed in the way I expected, and I thought, okay, but it does seem planned now. Now that I'm at this point, I'm like, okay, yeah, those initial issues are worth it. Like, I don't know where this is going anymore, and I'm excited for what's about to happen, you know?
I'm hoping that I get to that point, because like you said, how this issue like essentially made a click for you finally. Like you weren't disinterested, but like this is the one that like you've essentially decided to commit to it altogether. I still haven't gotten to that point, and like I want to blame the inconsistency in how I've been reading the book, because I think I read like the first issue like the day after it came out, and then I waited and waited, and I think I read like 2, 3, and 4 back to back like a couple months later, instead of like keeping up with it each month. And even now, like I read issue 6 last week, and it's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 months since I read issue 5. So like, I think that is kind of disorienting to me. So I may have to go back and like read it all again in one sitting. But ignoring that, like ignoring the reading, like inconsistency, it still hasn't like sold me, but I'm not I'm not ready to give up on it. So I'm hoping that, you know, when I get to issue 9, I have that same like breakthrough moment where it's like, okay, like I'm committed to this series. Like I'm like already kind of committed, but like,
yeah,
I think if I get to that point, like it has for you, where it clicks, then I can confidently say Radiant Black is better than fucking Frontiersman or,
Yeah.
whatever.
The thing is like, again, being at this point now, this book will read so well. Like if you read it in a oneer, like not saying omnibus format, but that style. No, like if you got an omnibus of this, you would fly through it. Like it'd be super easy read. And on the comment of like last week, if you watched our videos last week, make sure it was our videos from last week. I said that Ryan Parrott's Power Rangers run so far has been better than Kyle Higgins' run. I think it hands down has been better. This so far, I honestly, without a doubt, will say right now, this will be better than Kyle Higgins' Power Rangers run. This will beat his run on Power Rangers. If it continues like this will rival Ryan Parrott's Power Rangers. It's almost like he learned what he needed to learn from Power Rangers. He's jumped off it now, and he's ready to do his own thing on Power Rangers. I didn't know how that was going to be. I didn't know how that was going to sit with me. I think this will rival how my love for Power Rangers right now, because this is I've had enough of it now that I'm like, this is going to be good. I know for a fact.
I'm really curious how long it's going to last as well. Because I mean, for all we know, it's going to end at like issue 20. I mean, obviously, I'm not caught up, so maybe he's building to things that it would be impossible to end by then. But like, is this going to be another Invincible where it actually does hit like 100 issues, or does he have a plan and it's only going to be like a nice little like 36 issue like story or what have you? I'm really curious where that's going.
What's really cool about that question is like, if you look at it as a superhero comic, it feels like, okay, it's only 9 issues, but it feels like it's been around for a while. Like I feel like, okay, as a superhero comic book, we've had a few adventures now. Like like I'm satisfied. But if you look at it as it's from the tokusatsu genre, you're like, wow, this is early days. This is super early days. This is like like if this was a Power Ranger show, the show's not even started yet early days. And I'm like, wow, this could go a long time.
I'd say, and not having read any Radiant Black, but just I do follow Kyle Higgins on Twitter, and I followed all the press releases leading up to this one. We talked about that last week. I would be shocked if this wasn't like a 100+ issue series. Just it seems like he's so invested into this. Like this is like his magnum opus. Like this is the thing that he is putting all his heart and soul into. I'd be shocked if it didn't go like to the length of Invincible.
Yeah, and I think it will, to be honest. Now that like everything feels deliberate up to this point, it feels planned. It feels like he knows what he's doing. It doesn't feel like anything's coming out of the blue. Like there was a couple issues where what happened, I kind of expected it because like the genre is like, again, tokusatsu, you were like, like other characters are going to show up, and they kind of did. But he's had a couple things now where I'm like, I still have questions, but then it's really good because now I'm here. The big twist, I'm like, cool. That does set a precedent that he could potentially just pull another twist out the blue. It sets a precedent where you're like, as much as it's in a genre I know pretty well, and I kind of know the plot points pretty well, that sort of twist could happen at any point. And so I'm kind of like, as excited as I am, I'm a bit unsettled because I'm like, I genuinely don't know what's going to happen next. And it's super cool. It's a super cool feeling. And like, again, he's done a really good job of layering these personal issues in amongst it. Again, like with Power Rangers, I felt like it was too long sometimes. These issues, they've definitely had like they've just come at the right time. And again, I think that's why this one hit so well, because we've had like, so this is issue 9. I think in total we've probably had 5 issues of like big action and 4 issues of like maybe like about a more personal angle on a story, and it's balanced so well. Like that's what I want. It's what I want to read, and he's hit the nail on the head, and I hope it long continues. And to be honest, at this point, I hope it lasts another 100 issues.
That's awesome. And I mean, to think too that Kyle Higgins has been like working his way up to this point. I mean, he's done Power Rangers, he's done Ultraman, he's currently working on Darkhawk for Marvel. So like the tokusatsu genre is like his genre right now. Like that's like, there's like, he's put a stamp on it to where like you relate that, especially in the Western sense, to him. Like you see a tokusatsu comic book coming out, you assume that Higgins' name's attached to it in some form. So he's kind of like built built those writing muscles up, if you will, to the point to where like maybe this is like where he's like all those other things were just like practice almost. Like Batman and Batman Begins when he says, "You're just practice." Maybe that's what he was saying to Boom Studios for Power Rangers. You're just practice. And now this is his this is where he fights Ra's al Ghul on the train at the end of the movie.
Yeah. And that's a good metaphor. And the thing is like, yeah, I just can't get over, you know, there's a lot of genres in here now, and it's just really well balanced. And you know, you what you're saying, like it feels like it feels like the start of like his thing. This is the thing he's going to remember for. I've read his Ultraman, and now the interesting thing is because when he was doing Power Rangers, he did a podcast with Sentai Fan, and that Sentai Fan, he got like, it helped him a lot with like story elements for Power Rangers, I believe. And that guy that was on the podcast, he's the one that's co-writing Ultraman with him. And I believe that he's almost, I don't think he's necessarily writing Ultraman. He's more like the safety wheels for this guy. Because I don't know if it's him. I think this guy wrote another, it was a Kickstarter and I missed it and I was so annoyed because you could have got a helmet. But it's called like Dragonfire Red or something. It was really awesome looking. And it seems like the tokusatsu genre is exploding in comics. I mean, we've seen that thing from Charles Soule the other day, and like that looked a bit Power Rangers-esque. And
don't forget where
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's everywhere, and I love it. I love it. It just gives me more. Because again, like I love superheroes, and I love Marvel, DC. I genuinely feel like the best comics for superheroes right now are the ones that are based in the tokusatsu genre. Because I feel like it's that like, it's not only is it an ensemble piece, like there's multiple characters, but you know, you get more dynamic.
Notice how Frontiersman doesn't fall into that genre.
Yeah, exactly. That's his problem.
I'm kind of surprised. Like, I will say I'm shocked that this phenomenon of the tokusatsu genre that you're talking about didn't happen sooner in comics, because it's so easily replicates what you see in superhero comics, but like a little bit of a diversion, but still, like if you're a superhero fan, it's easy to translate, you know, into this. And I know there were Power Rangers comics in the 90s, especially when Mighty Morphin was a huge deal, but they never really caught on. Like I think they had their niche audience or whatever, but like it almost makes me think that it's just 100% a credit to Kyle Higgins. Like since they have tried it before and it didn't catch on, and then finally this guy named Kyle Higgins came around, that Power Rangers series blew up. Like for Boom Studios, especially during that time, that was a huge moneymaker for them. Just look at all the variant covers they were doing back then. Say what you want about variant covers right now in comics. A publisher, especially a smaller publisher like Boom, especially they were smaller then even, they're not going to put out 30 different variants for a comic book if it's not going to be selling well. Those variants were selling off the shelves. The trade paperbacks were selling well. Those deluxe hardcovers were selling massively. Like they were like huge whales at one point. And they finally
they just did that Kickstarter
back. What's that?
They just did that Kickstarter for Power Rangers where you got all the hardcovers.
So, and then you're talking about all these other things like Ultraman. There's a series like Kaiju Max that has some tokusatsu.
Ultra Mega.
What's that? Ultra Mega. Yeah, Ultra Mega. Yeah.
The King this year.
Yep. And Ultraman, and then Darkhawk's coming back. So it's like this resurgence is happening, but like I have a trouble not directing that route to like where this boom is happening any other way. And by boom, I don't mean, you know, no pun intended to Boom Studios, but I can't trace it anywhere back except for Kyle Higgins' Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm. See, I think as well, like I think I mentioned it last week. The thing that I always remember Kyle Higgins saying, and it got me excited, was when he did when the first issue came out for Power Rangers, he did an interview. I don't know, might have been with Newsarama or someone. And he said that the thing that excited him most about writing this was when he started writing it, he realized that he wasn't like shackled by the TV show. Like a small thing, right? TV show, like Power Rangers, for instance, it was based off of the Sentai. So the footage was the Japanese footage. They couldn't change that. So, for instance, like if you're looking at the Megazord, the chess piece is like the pterodactyl Zord. You could never eject that. There was nothing you could do intricately with those Megazords because the suits were built and you couldn't change the footage. That first issue, Higgins ejects it from the robot goes and fights while this pterodactyl is flying about. That's a small thing. That blew my friggin' mind. Like, it blew my friggin' mind.
Also, I've seen Higgins interviews too, where he was like, those stories, those TV episodes were built as like Monster of the Week. Like, they were so formulaic to Monster of the Week. It was literally teenagers. There's a monster. Rita Repulsa sends them down. She sends her staff, or then they fight him as you know, in the normal ninja outfits. She sends the staff down. The monster grows, and then they fight him in the big. It was so formulaic. But so Kyle Higgins would say, like, you never once saw just two Power Rangers having a conversation inside one of the Zords, like just like chatting it up, like at nighttime. Nothing's happening, no fights or anything. They're just like hanging out. Like, you'd think like you hang out in your car, like normal teenagers. These teenagers hang out in the Zord and talk. You never see that. So like he was like building on those moments too. So yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, there's all these little things. There's like the show never did that. That's maybe kind of happening between episodes that you never got a chance to see. I'm going to build on that and show those things.
And I think to touch on how it's very like Monster of the Week, I always found, even as a kid, you know, when I was 7 or 8 years old, whatever, still watching Power Rangers, some of my favorite like episodes would end up being like those 2 or 3 parters because it was bigger and more drawn out. The one that lives rent free in my head, I think it's like the season finale or like building up to the season finale of Lightspeed Rescue. I remember everybody's trapped because they had like that underwater base or whatever it was. People are like trapped and everything's like going to hell. And I just remember like, holy fuck, this is so cool. Like, even at 8 years old or whatever, I was like, I can't wait to watch the next episode, like next Saturday or whatever the hell it is.
Oh my gosh. Now you got me. Now you got my nostalgia synapses firing. So a similar feeling I had was one of the season finales. I went to my friend's house, my neighbor, because we played Power Rangers in the backyard all the time, like just kicking the air, thinking we're fighting monsters. And so it was like a appointment viewing when we'd see. And for some reason, this season finale, they aired prime time. Like, it wasn't like the afternoon, because normally my mom would record it. I specifically remember my mom would record it on VHS for me because it aired like the half hour that I was coming home from school, so I wouldn't be able to see it on time. So she would record it for me, and I get to see it. But but like this moment where I forget what season it was or what episode, but like all the Zords like fall into the crevice, the canyon, and then they're destroyed. And at that point, I was catching on to the formula that no matter what, the heroes win. But that was like, all the Zords are like in the like, what's happening? Like, my mind was blown that they were defeated for one episode. Of course, they wrapped it up. They brought in the new cast and whatnot, but like, it was just mind blowing. So the nostalgia of Power Rangers,
you know,
it's strong.
You bring up Lightspeed Rescue. My favorite moment of Lightspeed Rescue was always the Red Ranger Cole. I don't know if you remember, but there's a point when he's in between 2 canisters and he's got 2 guns pointed at this monster, and this monster's got a gun pointed at him, and the monster's like, go on, shoot, I dare you. And Cole shoots, and the whole thing blows up. I remember thinking, holy crap, that's badass. He just took himself out to take that thing out. It was like one of the most badass things I've ever seen.
But yes, so we all love Power Rangers as kids.
Yeah.
We all love the tokusatsu genre. Sorry, Connor, do you have one more thing to say?
Well, I think in summary, I think Kyle Higgins unshackled it. I think he took it and realized, again, like, the show had shackles. The studio made these shackles, and he fought, and I think he was tired of fighting. That's why he left it. But I think he realized the potential in an unshackled tokusatsu genre. And that's what Radiant Black is now. I see it now. I see the genius in it. I see that he's working it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think he's unshackled it.
And I feel like he's unshackled the genre itself. So like I said, I don't know you could trace it back to anything else. Like, they've tried. They've had Power Ranger seasons all the way this whole time. It never caught on like Mighty Morphin did. They had the Power Rangers movie that didn't catch on, the live action movie. So they've tried.
Is decent.
And
I thought it was decent too. It felt like an actual episode. It was just 2 hours, so it had a little bit more of those interactions that like Kyle Higgins like touches on with them, like just talking and actually like associating with each other instead of just fighting.
This is a weight off my shoulders that I'm able to say that publicly, that I enjoyed that movie too.
Oh, I loved it. Now that you all said it's decent, I actually loved it.
I didn't love it, but like I definitely enjoyed it. I haven't seen it since, but like I could see myself watching it again. And I thought though that the cameo with the Tommy and Kimberly was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Towards the end there, spoiler alert for a 4-year-old movie. But
We should do a watch along.
We should. I don't care what anybody says. The moment of the movie during the climax when they start playing the Mighty Morphin remix or whatever the song they did,
Yeah.
I was off my seat. I was like, yes. But no, the movie, yeah, I wish it got a sequel. I wish it got a sequel. It was building towards something really special, it seemed like, but it didn't catch on.
Cast was fire. I cannot believe they won't continue with that cast. That cast is ridiculously stacked now. They've all went on to do other things, and I just can't fathom it. But yeah, we're going off on a tangent. But yeah, we should do a watch along.
We should do a whole. We should do like Takusatsu Tuesdays or something. Where we just every Tuesday we get together and we dive into one thing from the genre.
And we'll eat tacos with them.
Now you're talking. Taco Tuesday is up my alley.
Yeah, we will spell it that way. Taco Satsu Tuesdays. Perfect. We're no longer cupcakes. We're tacos now. No, but we've been going along here. Let's wrap this up. Those are all the things that we pulled this week and we enjoyed. We all showed off our covers for the week, and we're going to have an episode in a few days where we get to preview something. Dan, you want to speak?
I was gonna say I had to call a timeout, audible time. One thing, I know that I didn't show off any collected editions, but I got a package from IST today as well, and I'm not going to show off the details because I might save it for a later video. But I got my Hellboy box set in here, so I might do a little unboxing video. I haven't opened it yet. It's still sealed. I'm waiting to see what it looks like. I might save it for a video, so
Dan,
keep that in mind too.
You've got to do a video for this channel, not only because one, I want to see it, because I haven't seen anybody show it off, and two, no other YouTube channel showed it off to my knowledge. I haven't seen any of the big ones show it off, so that might be an exclusive to the Cupcake YouTube channel. I want you to show it off all the way around, show all the covers off. I'm excited to see that thing. So yes, plug for the Cupcake. Make sure you subscribe. You hit that notification bell. Because you don't want to miss Paperback Dan showing off the paperback box set of Hellboy.
But yeah, so now that we got that out of the way, we can close the show down. Remember, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that shit. If you like anything that we pulled, let us know. If you think that we're idiots for not pulling what you pulled, let us know that twice. And
let us know how you feel about Frontiersman.
Yeah. If you've read Frontiersman, let's talk about it. We'll have a whole ass open forum for it.
If you're the writer of Frontiersman, come for me. I would like a conversation.
I would love to have him on the show.
We're calling him out.
I would love to have him on the show. If he's as brash as he comes off in those letters, he will not fear coming on the Cupcake channel.
He shouldn't be. I mean, what's not to like about us?
Right. We're nice guys.
I mean, I came in a little toasty. Hopefully, the thing is, if he turns it off instantly, it's game over. If he sits around for 10 minutes and lets me rant, you'll go, "Oh, this guy might actually like me." I'm not sure.
and if he gets fresh with you, just give him the old A.
hey, huh?
All right, so yes, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And check out our episode in a few days where we do a previous episode to talk about what's coming out next week.
Connor, would you like to say goodbye as well?
Bye.
I will take that as a no.
No, see you later. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, that's all for this week. Catch us later when we do the previews. See you guys.